coming out today for this retreat council goal setting for 2023. I appreciate you all making the time. We've got a lot to go over, and it's been an exciting year, so I'm sure there's lots of things to talk about. So that said, is there anybody who would like to comment on anything before we hand this over to Melanie and she can bring us into this? Okay, great. Melanie, take it away.
All right. Well, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for coming out on a sunny football Sunday morning. I'm excited to do this. I just to put it out there, I don't know if anybody else here has the same personality as me, but to sit down and do a goal setting session with so many input from so many people, it's like you're sitting in the middle of this unknown a little bit, because there's so many opportunities right now in the community and directions that we could take, and that's what we're going to be getting direction from you all on. But it's like we're sitting in this unknown, and it's very uncomfortable for me to sit in the unknown. But by the end of the day, I'm sure that things will be narrowed down much more, and we'll have some good, strong direction for the year. And this is we do this every year. So it's a 1 year, not trying to like figure out what's going to be in 20 years, but it's kind of nice to have that frame of reference when you're looking at, this is where we want to go. What do we need to do this year to head us in that direction? And just, I heard this example of sailing a ship. If we were all sailing a ship someplace, it wouldn't be the city council that has to be up at the steering wheel or in the map room charting the exact course, oh, there's a storm over here, we're going to have to go this way, but the city council is the one who says, this is where we're going to end up when we get through, this next journey that we're on. This is where we want Estacada to be. This is what we want it to look like. These are the priorities that we want to see accomplished in the long run. And then that's up to my wonderful staff and myself to figure out how we're going to get there, and we'll get guidance from you along the way, I'm sure, but we really want to know, where do you want to go and what's our destination? So I just wanted to share that a little bit. And then I also wanted to clarify that staff is working really hard right now. We're pretty much at capacity. And we've brought on new people this year to help fill that gap. And we're getting up to speed with everybody, but we're not sitting around waiting for a new list of stuff to do. There's plenty of stuff to do, but we need to know we're doing the right things. And so by you setting goals and priorities and some objectives, then that helps staff to know, okay, we need to prioritize such and such above this, or, and rearrange things and how we're going to accomplish those goals. But it's not to actually just keep doing what we're doing and take on more. We have to spread that out over time. So for instance, the transportation system plan is going to take most of the year. That takes a good deal of time in the planning department. We probably wouldn't want to start another plan like next month. But we need to know that that's the direction that we want to go, so that they can be guiding the work that they're doing in that direction, if that is helpful at all. And I just wanted to introduce my friend Alex. She's the city manager over and silence my cell phone. She is the city manager in Scappoose. She's been there for 7.5 years total, and been city manager for a little over 2 years. And she graduated from PSU with a master's in public administration. And so she's here to facilitate for us today. She's been doing goal setting for a long time, and she can facilitate workshops. Because that's what you do. So anyway, so I'm glad that Alex is with us today. And I thought we could go around the room and just say, maybe how long you've been on council, what you do for work, just a little blip to introduce yourself to Alex. You want to start, Jerry?
Jerry Tenbush. I've been on council. This is the beginning of my 5th year. I've worked in the auto industry since 1994. Everywhere on the fixed ops, from washing cars all the way up to parts manager at one point. And I'm comfortable as a back parts counter guy, and just doing the best I can.
My name is Heidi Prokop. I was elected in December, so I've been a counselor for less than a month. I work at OHSU. I'm actually in Scappoose right now at their clinic. Yeah, that's about it.
Hi, I'm Charity Hughes. I'm going in my third year, so I've been on council for 2 full years. And for work, currently stay-at-home mom, just doing a lot of volunteer stuff. I volunteer for my daughter's cheerleading team, which is just a rec team for the middle school, and I coach out in Sandy fitness. And then, but I was in dental for various things, general oral surgery. I did that for about 12 years. So, yeah.
Sean Drinkwine, Mayor of Estacada. Been on here for 13 years. Just been reelected for mayor for another 2 years. So been in this quite a long time. I love Estacada. I live, breathe, and eat Estacada every day. It's my first thing that I wake up to and the last thing I go to bed to at night. So we have a local sign business here in town. I've been here a very long time and just love this place. So that's what I'm all about. Thank you.
My name's Councilor Whitkey, or I've been on the council for just same time as Charity, going on my third year. I work in cybersecurity.
And Paul Strobel, been on council for just maybe 3 months more, appointed a couple months before they were, and small business owner in town.
My name is Michael McElroy. I was appointed back in August to an empty seat on the council and then got elected in November. I work for a local company, Lock Buildings. They're in the industrial park here in town. We build pole barns, do about 160 buildings a year. And I do sales and project management for them.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I'll just turn it over to you. And I do appreciate staff being here today. I know it's going to be a long day for them on taking their Sunday, but they're great in keeping us moving forward. And I think if there's any questions, they'll be able to answer those. If not, then we can get back to you. But I thought having them here at least available to weigh in if there's things, that would be great. So I'm going to turn it over to Alex. We're going to start off with our working on a Teams agreement. And I'll let her explain a little bit more about that. And I'm going to point this.
do you want me to use that for now and then I'll?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to point it in your direction.
Okay. Well, thank you all for having me here. I appreciate being able to participate. And I do think it's really valuable to be able to have your city manager able to participate in the goal setting process alongside you. So I think having a facilitator is a really great thing so that you can participate more fully. So it's been shared with me that you want to develop a new team agreement. I know that there's been a team agreement developed in the past that I've taken a look at. And I also made sure there were some additional samples in your binders that you can look at as we go through this exercise, just to kind of help you come up with some initial ideas. But I think, I guess just one thing I wanted to say about it was I was recently reading a book called The Culture Code, and it talks about how groups are successful and what it is that they do to make them successful and key features. And one of the things that really stood out to me that reminded me of this team agreement exercise is what they called a threshold moment. So successful groups are really adept at taking new members and integrating them into the group to make them feel like they're part of the team. And so since you have new members on council, I thought that really seemed to resonate in this particular situation, that you are integrating members into the group and making sure that you're all working together in a way that's really successful. And then just in general, that while you are here to set goals for, moving the community forward in the way you see fit, one of the actual biggest projects I would argue that you all have as well is maintaining this group and getting along so that you can be efficient and move forward, and that there's not difficulties within the group that holds back your progress and the community's progress as a result. So having said that, what we did was we took some headings and just to kind of move the conversation forward that would prompt certain, ideas and thoughts. And so I put them up on the board, and what I'll ask you to do is just simply start throwing out ideas for each heading as we get to it. Mayor, I don't know if you want to have this be a little bit more informal where everyone just speaks when they feel like it. I don't know if they want.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm
Okay.
gonna open it up and let everybody have the opportunity.
All right.
to just-
So given that one of the examples in here was from Scappoose, I did model some of the initial headings after that, but obviously we can be flexible. It was just really to get the conversation started. So
That's in section 2.
So the first section I thought we could start with was reasons for conducting council meetings in business. So I guess just in general, based on the examples you've seen, your experiences of how you think this would work. What are some things that you would want to see amongst yourselves that would make your meetings successful?
Leave individual bias at the door. Something I'm working on myself.
Being respectful of opinions that may not line up with yours and not being demeaning to people from position of authority, like, for instance, saying you haven't lived here long enough for your input to be valid, or that your ideas are invalid because whatever the reason may be.
Respectful of different opinions, and I'm sorry, how do you want to condense the last part of that? You want
Um,
to add-
No, that's pretty good there.
I think adhering more to the Robert's Rules of Order would be good, you know, right to be recognized, things like that. So, yeah.
Staying on topic. And to piggyback off of that, since things kind of rabbit trail, would be to adjourn in a timely manner, not leave at 10:30 at night.
I like that.
Where would we be without a 5-hour meeting?
I mean, do you actually want to call wrap up meetings by, attempt to wrap up meetings by 9 p.m.?
Well, I mean, we can talk, I think we could discuss like maybe wrapping up at a certain time, but you know,
Okay.
I'm not gonna,
So-
we could talk about it, but yeah, it'd be nice to just.
Staying on
wrap up.
topic slash wrapping up in a reasonable hour.
Yes.
Something that would be nice would be to have the packets out more than a few days before the council meeting, especially when we have 1,000 pages to read. If we can do something to get them out, whether they have a due date of being out 2 weeks before or something like that, or we could change how we do that or something, but we need time to read 1,000 pages. That's a lot to do. Otherwise, we're kind of missing a big chunk of it. So
So,
I know it's hard, but I mean, we just have to set deadlines, and when we choose what's for that meeting, different.
actually, we have a section on expectations between council and
Staff.
staff.
Yeah.
And so. can we
Yeah,
add-
we can add that then. That's
Okay,
fine. I
add
just,
that. Okay.
so.
So, and in terms of packet deadlines, I know obviously a lot goes into packets. I actually have recently extended or moved up our deadline for materials so that everybody comes quicker, sooner so they get home in a week. But I know that I understand, I mean, it can be really challenging. to keep up with the packet, So.
Yeah, we, a lot of the big packets are land use. And so they've typically gone to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Taylor, but they go to planning commission ahead of time. And so we are going to copy the council on that also, so that you can start reading through that information if you want to really delve into more of it. But yeah, I'd be open to taking a look at that.
Yeah, and anytime they are land use section, they go to planning commission, council can also be included into that. And then
Mhm.
they can review that.
Mhm.
We did that.
Okay, all right.
Just to be clear, for the team agreement that we're putting together right now, is this everything we're putting on here, is this to go into our own team agreement today? Okay, so, one thing I liked on here, well, just kind of looking through some examples. Just not, we don't really have not so far, we don't really have an attendance issue, but since we're going to put it in a team agreement, just, talk about, attendance for council meetings is important, that kind of thing. So since we're kind of putting this together today.
And I don't want to seem non-responsive, but I'm kind of learning from these guys what they'd like to see. So I'm listening to everything that's coming in rather than, trying to put my idea out there. I want to hear what they have to say. So.
Well, and to your point, Councilor Lickey, you could say, obviously being prepared at meetings is really important. So you could say something in here about being prepared and then add.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, it plays into it. So. I really like number 14 on your guys' example here. It says council shall interview prospective committee members and advise the mayor through a public process. Appointments will be made by the mayor and approved by the council. Like that, but especially the part where it says we should interview prospective committee members. Yeah, a lot of time we get a something like a piece of paper that has their information on it, but I'd love to be able to talk to the committee members sometimes.
How does everybody else feel about that? Because typically we have the committees interview them and they are appointed by the mayor. So it is important that everybody here is able to feel comfortable. And if you would rather interview the committee members, I mean, you could do that. It's just one more thing for you to do versus the process we have now, which is having the committees interview and make a recommendation.
Yeah, I can see the value in it, but personally, that would just be one more thing that I don't think we would need to do. We've got the committees that can do that. And then we've also, you guys are really timely in getting the YouTube videos out. We can watch those interviews as well too, prior to our meeting as well. So I'm happy having our commission do it.
And just to offer this up in Scappoose, what the council does is they just each of them will get a copy of the application. And if they want to do an interview, then they set one up. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just approve under the consent agenda, but each counselor gets a copy of the application so you can see who the person is. And it's just kind of made on a case by case basis.
I kind of like that idea. I'm just thinking of time constraint and just the fact that if we didn't have so much turnover in our committees, I would say, well, yeah, I mean, I can make time for an interview or whatever, but since we've been kind of having a little bit of a turnover. I know I'm speaking selfishly, I don't know if I have enough time to just be interviewing every single new applicant that comes through for each committee. But I would like the option if there was something kind of, wanted to.
I think that's more kind of what I was going
Yeah.
for is to have that option. I mean, it's been plenty of times where we've had 3 applicants and 3 positions and there's no reason to interview somebody, but the main thing is I see the committees and they're there, the committees are there to advise the council. And so I think it's important for the council to know and understand who we're choosing to provide us advice. Because that's the point of it. It's not for anybody else but us here. So if we don't know, we're just going off a piece of paper and we're saying, yeah, this person has good information on a piece of paper. We're saying, hey, person that we don't know, we haven't talked to, give us advice on what we should be doing. Kind of seems almost counterproductive. I'd at least like to meet the person before I point them to a position to advise me on something. That's kind of my thought process on it. So.
I'm not exactly in the opposite direction of that, but the people that we've appointed to these commissions and committees, we put our trust in them to advise us, and I trust their decision on when they do the interview process. I would trust in their the majority of the time trust in their decision on who they recommend. So I just think that especially the last few months, all the turnover that we've had in committees and commissions, that would have, as long as our meetings have been, it would have created a lot more, we wouldn't have got out of here till 12 o'clock.
That is
optional depending on circumstances? Is that something that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if it's
I
circumstantial.
think recruitment, I think we should look at recruitment of our committee and commissions. I mean, I've seen a lot of committees and commissions over the years, and we turn over a lot of the same people. Is what happens because a lot of people aren't invested. We have a lot of new housing going in there, seriously. And the way to get out to them, I don't know how we do that, but a recruitment process that brings in new people that we can invest in this community, I think would give us a better perspective in some of these committees, because we're just doing it repetitiously, turning over the same people.
Do you feel like maybe a discussion of actually proactively recruiting for community members might be a good parking lot item, just something?
Yeah,
we can
sure,
focus
sure,
on later?
yeah.
Okay.
And then I had a question, like if somebody does, I'm sorry, Mike's raising.
Yeah, I just think maybe having them present. We have the application in the packet and then having anyone that's being appointed available the night that they're going to be confirmed to a committee. So that if any of the council has a question to ask of them, they could show up for that first night when they're coming on. And then if you had a couple questions to ask, you could do it right then. Maybe not every person gets drilled with it, not a full interview, but if there's something specific you wanted to ask them, it might be a solution.
I like that.
I'd actually go even to make that a requirement to see if they're even gonna be committed to show up for their appointment. Say, hey, if you want to be appointed, you have to be there the night that you're being appointed.
Maybe that's also a discussion of this process might be a good item to revisit.
Okay. I agree with that. And when, for instance, your council, Alex, if they decide that they do want to do an interview, do they just let the mayor know that, hey, I'd really like to interview this or? Okay,
I think what Council McElroy's idea was is just have them be there the night that we're gonna do the appointments. Will be a good intermediate because if we have questions, we can ask them there and then appoint that night when there's no extra processes. If we have a question, we'll ask them. If we don't, then we'll appoint.
Are we able to open it up for discussion, things that are on the consent agenda to have a discussion with an appointee? Prior
we
to
just
voting
remove
on
it. We just remove it from the consent agenda and put it in council business.
And also, to. Interview. I don't think it's just purely council making the selection, so our process. But I think that'd be a good item to revisit.
yeah, definitely.
More detail, maybe it's just an actual agenda item at a future meeting to really discuss how you want to see this process moving forward. So that might. Okay, cool. Thank you.
I think another one would be to add on, just the encourage participation, try to make sure all voices are heard. I know in the past, we've had some times that have been back and forth between council members. So try to keep things moving forward.
I'm sure we're hearing from everybody who wants to speak. Is there anybody else who wants to talk about this particular? Yes. Okay. All right, so this one is individual council member conduct agreement. So what do you want to agree on as a group is the best way to, conduct yourselves at these meetings and.
I'll start again. Something that I have also been working on myself is to keep my emotions in check.
Melanie, put the next ones up on those windows. Just put the next ones up on those windows.
Oh.
I don't know what you guys' problem is. It's fine.
I knew I should have taken a seat.
Yeah, a couple hours. We'll come
Try to be
around.
nice.
Okay, so individual.
I would like to assume best intentions from everyone.
I know I put it on the last one, but individual bias.
You want to read it or word it in the same way? Or do you want to?
Yeah, I do. I just, I know that I'm guilty of it just as much as anybody, but I think that's that's something that we need to, we're not here to represent ourselves as much as we are here to represent the city and the community. So I think that's a big thing. And again, something I'm working on myself.
Is there any more discussion on that as far as like, how do we accomplish that? Because we all have our opinions, our priorities, things that are important to us. And so we don't want to be biased, but how can we also have tendencies, things that we're going to support, and how do you balance that? Is there any suggestions or?
What are you as elected officials and representatives of your community? You're kind of here to have opinions, right? It's really staff who are supposed to be a little bit more neutral. So but I get what you're saying. But it is an interesting one because there is a balance there, right? You know, you're elected because people like the way you think about things and you're elected to represent them. And so you're sharing your opinions, but where do you draw the line at something that maybe is too personal of a bias, right?
Well, okay, so hot button topic that we recently went through was the whole marijuana retail store, you know, here in downtown. And during the discussion there, it just seemed like there was a lot of personal bias. So for me on that topic, I don't have any money invested.
Yeah.
There's nothing for me. There's no benefit to me to have it. But I brought in opinions of people, I brought in stuff from people that I talked to. I don't have a personal bias, whether we do or we don't. I did in the beginning, but I did research. I talked to people. I, educated myself a little bit more. And, and at the end, I just came to the conclusion that, having one, benefits the city financially. And there is a huge chunk of this community that wants that in the city. And, just that during that discussion, there just seemed to be a lot of personal bias towards not having it. And I just, that's just one, that's the main one that comes to mind.
Well, I think what you just described though is really important because you described being willing to research the topic and be open-minded and even potentially shift your point of view based on the information and the facts. And I think that is super important.
Yeah.
So, I think that's really important for all of us, whether you're staff or on council, to be willing to really take in information and facts and adjust accordingly. So I think what you're describing is really important.
I think you said something earlier that I wanted to really capitalize on there. You said that the staff is here to be non-biased, but we are the elected politicians. We're meant to be political. We have to have a political direction and a political point. We're meant to play politics. That's what we're here for, because we're representing people. And so I think that's important to remember is that, yes, we are meant to be, I don't want to use the word bias, because I think it's the wrong word there, but we are meant to have a direction, a goal. I'm meant to have an opinion, and the staff is meant to basically execute on that opinion of the consensus of the group. And so I think a personal bias, yes, I agree, you gotta leave that at the door, but I think you're meant to have a consensus from the people you represent, the constituents, the people you're able to talk to, the community members, and whether or not that comes against your own beliefs or not, that's different, but you're supposed to take the cumulative amount of information you get from who you can communicate with and then bring that to represent that. And I think that's the key thing, is that we need to be able to balance it out between a personal bias and understand that. So if Jerry's arguing point A and Mike's arguing point B and I'm arguing point C, that may be the information that we gathered from the people we represent, and we're arguing that point because that's what what we're meant to do.
No, I know I've been talking a lot, but I just want to, I'm using the definition of bias right out of our code of conduct. So the definition in our code of conduct is: no counselor shall participate in any manner in a quasi judicial decision if the counselor has actual bias regarding the decision. Actual bias means prejudice or prejudgment of facts to such a degree that the counselor is incapable of rendering an objective decision on the merits of the case. So that's when I say bias, that's the definition that that's going through my head. So,
Willingness to waiver from your point of view.
yes.
Do you want, well, that right to say, you could say as per the definition. of
Yeah.
your code of
Yeah.
Conduct, that.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So I wasn't, I just wanted to clarify my
Yeah.
definition of bias that I was using.
I get you. So, and I think when you said individual bias, that's a personal bias. I think what you're trying to go for. A personal bias is what you're trying to say, leave out at the door. But I think as individual representatives, not bias is not the right word. We're supposed to represent the people that we communicate with and take all their input in and come to represent that. So I think it's.
But
what-
we also should not be unmovable.
Exactly. We take the information in. I'm not saying that we not be unmovable, but we're supposed to at least bring that information to the table.
Mhm.
And then everybody brings their information from people they talk to, hopefully. And in total, we bring everybody's communication from across the city because Jerry will talk to people, Councilor Prokop will talk to people, Councilor Hughes and so on. We bring all that together, we lay it on the table and then we come up to the decision together. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right, because as a council, you're absorbing a lot of information.
Mhm.
You know, you've been entrusted to make important decisions and information from your constituents, and it's also gonna come from your staff when they, actually take your direction, go gather information, and bring it to you. So you do have to, be discerning and really wade through a lot to make your decisions.
Well, I think the key thing here is that we come into these meetings and I mean, you guys have it laid out in Scappoose, if you continue to be respectful, maintain dignity and, humility through the discussion and you actually have healthy debate, then, it's not going to be a problem. I think sometimes, I think we have to be cut off either from city manager, from the mayor, or, myself or whomever respectfully, like, hey, I can tell you're getting a little spun up. Like let's just stick to the topic, stick to the facts. Let's get through this. Cause I know things can get a little heated over certain things, but I think if we just keep in mind, and that's just going to have to be on the individual, that's going to have to be on each and every one of us to just, be respectful of each other and have just a healthy debate, be open to healthy debate.
This has been a good discussion. Was there anything specific out of this discussion you actually want on here? So I know, you said be respectful, healthy debate. Is there anything else, council would be, was there anything specific that you wanted to hear?
No, I mean, I like this very last line in your guys. It says avoid saying or doing anything that would discredit or harm the city. I think it's a good line.
Mhm.
I'd say addressing personal matters outside of council meetings.
Address personal matters outside of
Yeah.
council meetings?
There's been times where things have been brought up on personal levels about people or interactions they had outside of the meeting where it could probably be handled better. Be better for the council if it just got handled privately rather than in public.
Anyone on this one? Hearing none? Okay. So this one is-
Actually,
Oh.
can I really like this, and again, I like it because it's, again, something that I'm working on myself, but I really like this, move on as a team after the decision has been made, support each other even if we don't agree. I really like that. And again, I like it because it's something that I'm working on myself. So.
So just move on.
As a
As a team
team,
after decisions made.
support each other even if we don't agree.
I'm always happy to add more. Okay.
I like all three points that are on Forest Groves and Scappooses. I think that's, yeah. Continue to improve citizen involvement, awareness, and participation. Yeah. Participation. And improve follow-up and resolution of citizen concerns or complaints. Or complaints, yeah. And as we said before, to act as an advocate for the city.
Say, work on educating the public as much as possible when things are coming up in the meetings. What's making me think about that is when we were talking about the Main Street project, there was a lot of confusion from the public on where that there was an option to spend that money somewhere else in the city, making improvements. Maybe take a little time to put some information in there to explain where the funds are coming from, where they're able to be spent and things like that. And that's just that one particular example, but just educating the public on things that we're going to be making decisions on and what lens we're having to look at things through.
I think healthy growth should be something we've worked on.
In the microphones more so that.
Listen to the community.
And that we would be making decisions based on facts, not conjecture.
Can you leave a little bit of room there? I want to add to my. Yeah, listen to understand, not to reply, listen to understand.
Commit to transparency and accountability of government.
What is healthy growth related to? Is that growing as a council, as a team, as staff, or is that like the community grow?
That's community growth
Community growth,
as a whole.
like.
I think I'm sure how to put that in there, but something like along the lines of just trying to see what we got there, for kind of already been said. But I'm thinking more about communication or access to information for the public is to admit to. I think it's spelled out this, but through everything else is in pieces. I'm just trying to figure out if we should, I don't want to keep putting the same thing up there, but I think it does. I think it's spelled out in different ways up there, so.
This one, I'm gonna put staff on the spot a little bit. That you're involved with this one, and I know that might feel a little bit awkward because with the city manager and not council. But I actually thought this was super helpful for staff and staff who's when they participated in this with council, because the fact that you're working with the city manager, you are presenting to council and you're working as a team, and there's still a lot of interfacing and interaction there that I think is really important to be clear on what the expectations are. So commitment between council and staff foster a strong relationship, and so in this particular one, I would ask the staff to participate.
You're not gonna hurt our feelings.
And are you looking for only staff or is it staff and council?
Be kind of a conversation amongst you all in terms of, when a staff member comes in front of you to present, kind of what are the kind of rules of engagement, what is the expectation? And I think that, it's helped us avoid situations where maybe staff felt like they were a bit demoralized in public or things like that. I think it's just something to think about so that, because even though you are not their boss, the city manager is, it's still a very big piece of their working environment, and making sure that that's a productive and healthy environment is really important for everyone involved. So I think that that's why their participation in this session is really important.
I think I like this one, that provide questions in advance of meetings to the city manager. I know Melanie's been amazing at calling us the Friday before a meeting on Monday, and we've been able to, maybe get some question. I've tried to do that with Taylor a couple times too, if I've had a couple of questions, just so we're not eating up time in meeting and yeah. Especially with all the housing stuff, Taylor's had to kind of come in and get the 20 questions from us at a meeting.
And I know that sometimes, seems like, in my experience, some councils seem to feel like taking up your time, but I think generally speaking, and I know I can speak for myself here, but I'd much rather sit down with a counselor and explain all the details to you and get, have that communication and having that necessarily, if you don't feel prepared or ready to talk about it, then that come out of the meeting. I think
Yes.
And then, if we need to, I'd rather pull something off the agenda, work on it more and put it back on later than have it go completely sideways. in the meeting.
Yeah.
So I really like this work as part of one team with staff. I like it in the aspect that staff does not work for us. We work together and, if we need help from staff, then, we need to consider them part of that team, not just underlings there, because they're not.
On our council ground rules, this first one here, honor the expertise in the room. That we would recognize if we do have an expert coming in that they're there for a reason.
I want to, just because it was brought up earlier, I think it's good to kind of bring that along from earlier, and that's to make sure we're leaving personal bias at the door. So, and then also on as well, it's where make sure we don't avoid saying or do anything that would discredit or harm the city as well. So I think that's good things to carry through for anyone that's sitting in a public meeting.
If you want to also add, having information available to council in a timely manner, and then we can maybe use a parking lot and discuss the actual.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to put in there too.
I'm staff. So.
Yeah.
I always, that's big. That I was asking. Like every evaluation I've ever had, I need clarity of vision, clear direction of what you want. Otherwise, staff is gonna be, working in circles.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that resonates for you all, but that's always been something that's super important to me, that, if you're working as a well-functioning group and you're giving clear direction, that makes our lives much easier in terms of what we're bringing to you and what we're working on some of these. So I don't know if that's.
Yeah, I saw some of the answers: ensure unity of the council's vision and direct staff according to using one voice. I think it's a big thing. It's just sometimes we can be pretty split on some things. I think it's that we try to come to one.
That is preferred, absolutely. Obviously, at the end of the day, the staff's gonna do whatever the board votes on. But
Yeah, and I
obviously,
get
at
that.
the end of the day, I think this- Get there. But it's great.
I was gonna say, I like the staff will offer pros and cons for scenarios. Because sometimes I think as staff, we work through things really fast and think, okay, this is probably the best way to do it. But there's always pros and cons. And if it's something that is gonna be brought to the council, or as we're helping council understand something, if we can say, okay, you'd like us to do this is if pros and cons, if we do this, or this decision is going to be made, you need to make this decision, here's, and maybe they're not always pros and cons, but just
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I would argue that you're laying out the negatives.
Mhm.
Scenario, sometimes I think there's a specific recommendation from staff about why they recommend you this thing. Sometimes there's less of that, and it's really just superior options, you don't necessarily have a strong
Mhm.
explanation either way, but I also think too, these are the kind of things that are great to work out during work sessions, where you're not expecting a decision, and they can sit with it for another couple of weeks, come back, and ask for a decision at a later meeting. I find that works really well for us, they can digest it and think about it, sometimes big questions come up where they get new ideas.
Mhm.
So, I feel like this works well with the work session.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Put on there?
You guys don't got any.
No, I do.
You just wait.
I'm just waiting, yeah. I would say, I don't know is an acceptable answer. So if you ask us a question, we don't know the answer at a council meeting. If we could say, I don't know right now, I'll bring you the information later. I want that to be an acceptable answer, so staff doesn't feel on the spot.
Goes right along with asking questions at the
Yep.
meeting and not beforehand, probably.
Yeah,
You
yep.
have the opportunity to prepare for it.
And I mean, I understand you can't always, sometimes questions are gonna come up during a presentation at the meeting and things. We can't always get them asked ahead of time. So I think understanding from staff, from council side to be able to be patient for the answers. So,
I think the biggest thing at the end of the day is just that as long as staff is following up and answering those questions, I think that's fine. As a new council, new group, in my personal experience, what I've found that it takes time to get to know counselors. Once you do get to know counselors, you can sometimes actually anticipate what they're going to ask. I can sit down with my staff and go, okay, you better be prepared for X, Y, and Z because so-and-so is going to say this. And that usually happens. But it takes time to get to know them, to know to do that. And as you work together as a team for longer, you get there, but it takes time, especially with new people. There is still kind of a period of know each other and how it works. But over time, that will happen. But if you do take time, and sometimes, like she said, I mean, it is really important that I think if the staff member goes, gosh, sorry, I didn't think of that. Let me get you the answer. As long as they're going back to with information, they just didn't anticipate it. And so it's not a fun feeling. I hate sitting in a meeting and saying, I don't know. It took me a really long time to start to get comfortable that it's okay, that it's impossible to know everything as long as I'm coming back to the information. That's okay. But it's an uncomfortable position for staff because we want to have the answers for you.
Melanie, am I that predictable that you always have the answers for me?
I mean, I think it's also about the topics to the end. If you really get to know the counselor, you get to know what's really important to those people, and then when things come up, you can start to anticipate what they're gonna want to know and what they're gonna really zero in on, and you just become more efficient over time, but it just takes time. Staff. I did know what was the unity of vision and direction for that.
Yes, which one was that?
I think from council.
Ensure unity of the council's
Oh, thank
vision
you.
and direct staff accordingly using one voice.
May not always work, but try for it at least.
All right, guys, is there anything that we do that's,
That
that we need to
Like
say?
me,
Just look at
yeah.
Andy's
Come on.
zone right here.
Taylor's got some.
I was gonna, I was just gonna like, re-emphasize or confirm some of the things you've already said. I feel like you guys have covered a lot of the thoughts that I had. Especially the unity of vision. For me, the most important part of that is the clarity of what the direction is. And it's not, not that that's not allowed to change as the project moves forward or whatever, but having that clarity is really helpful for us when we're, going back to gather whatever information, or we're updating the draft of whatever it is, we know what is desired. There was another one that was important. Oh, yeah, just reiterating that it's super helpful and appreciated to get those questions in advance, so that we can gather information. Mhm. I wonder if we can delve a little bit into the don't discredit or harm the city. And the thought that I had with that one is during like land use applications, we sometimes run into sticky situations where there's parts of our code that are not clear and objective. And so, yeah, describing situations where the city is kind of, there's like a legal risk involved. The city is not maybe, our code is not updated necessarily to meet like state requirements. So we will need to be able to, talk about those kind of gaps in our code without, we'll just have to be delicate about it, right? We don't want to kind of open the city up to legal vulnerability necessarily, but we also need to give the council true information about the facts of the case so that they can make the most legally defensible decision. So.
I think one of the big things, and that would be, is to use one of those I don't know things if you're not really sure if it's gonna put us in, if you have an unsurety, to resort to the I don't know. But I think the biggest thing too, to kind of go along with the transparency and accountability piece of it is if we're asking a question or does a situation come up and we have to use the I don't know, is that we make sure in the next meeting, we bring it back around and explain that clearly for the public. Hey, we didn't know because we had to work out X, Y, and Z. Here's what we've determined. Here's the full course behind that. So people don't think we're trying to cover something up or put something aside, but we needed to get some clarity on it. We've gotten the clarity. Here's what the clarity is, and then we can move on. People will feel like we're being a lot more transparent in things, but sometimes it takes time to get that sorted out. But so.
I think staff having legal in the room, if there's an issue that they think might be of a legal concern. We do have legal on standby, so we should always have them in the room if we're going to be addressing something to that effect.
Is that something we could put, I don't know, just to kind of go along, is that something we can maybe put in the consent agenda, maybe like summarize it, hey, staff, if addressing questions or staff addressed questions to Councilor Litkey or Councilor Strobel, and this was the answer, and that way the public has a chance to read that, and then we don't have to.
It's something like that, just so that it's clarified. So if something was not answered and they don't feel like we're trying to hide something, because there's been situations like that have come up. I'm sure most of us saying, why isn't that answered? That was kind of unclear or something. Let's just make it clear. Mhm.
Obviously, it's just questions being asked. You're not probably going to make the final decision, right?
Mhm.
It's coming back. So generally speaking, what we've always done is we don't necessarily call out on the agenda separately. However, staff is really good about jotting down everybody's questions and then coming back to that meeting and being very clear when they get to that agenda item. You know, these questions were asked, here are your answers. So, you know, I don't know that I've generally seen it as a separate agenda item. You could, but if it's already part of something that's coming back to you for a decision, it's gonna automatically be probably in an updated staff report or things like that. I can't imagine it wouldn't be, especially if the final decision has not been rendered, which I don't know how it could have, people say, I don't know. So I think it would kind of be baked into the cake, so to speak. It would come back to you, it would be part of that item, and it could just be called out in the staff report. You could even put it in red, you could do something like that, so that it's very specific to what is being answered.
We've had some decisions move forward without some information in there before because they were smaller things, but still worth. So I think that's where kind of Counselor Hughes is.
Yeah, it's just like the little ticky tack stuff that just has gone through, and then
Okay.
like a last minute question or something, but we've got to make a decision because it got brought back a second time or something like that. And it's just like, oh,
think
but I.
it's-
Yeah, that could, because I was thinking it's not always like a decision. It could be like a random question that just
Right.
came up.
I think it's just a communication thing is the biggest thing
So-
is,
Basically ensuring that there's a tracking of
Questions.
questions and answers so that you feel that it's.
Yeah.
Mhm. Have you done that? Like put it's something in a consent agenda that says information only. It's a response to questions from previous council meeting or what I just.
I have not, usually if it's been a public comment, what I'll do is I will jot down the public comment, I will follow up with the person who actually made the comment, and then I will follow up to council in a memo, essentially, just
Okay.
an email to say, look, you know, this is what happened with this. But maybe this is something we're talking about. so I
Okay,
can
sure.
back
Just do it.
I think the biggest thing that fall into communication with the public is really what that's gonna kind of boil down to. And some of these things aren't, like you said, aren't worth bringing back to the council, but it's a question that a citizen may have had about something that we're gonna get back to them on. Sometimes you put that communication out so the whole public can see it, other than just communicating with that citizen or the council. So.
Yeah, that makes sense because, you know, one person brought it up, but, you know, it might be, you know, important to a group of people
Right.
or, you know, people that never even thought of that question, but as soon as that question was brought up, they're like, oh, yeah, I want to know the answer to that. So, yeah, just some way to get that out there to the answer to that particular question out there.
One of the things I realized we haven't put on anything, and I wanted to put on this one and really kind of fits in a lot of them is that I think it's a reminder that all of us, whether staff or council members, we all work for the people of the city of Estacada, the people, that's what we work for. And to keep that in mind is though everything that we do should be to reflect that, whether it's staff or whether it's representatives or not, what we're doing, is it something that's representing the people? Are we working for the people in this decision? Is our focus? And if we can't say yes to that, then we need to rethink whatever it is we're going for. So. I mean, I constantly have to ask myself that question is what I'm thinking and what I'm wanting to do, is that really in the best interest of the people of Estacada or not? Is that really representing the people of Estacada, or how does that affect the people? Or is this, that's something I have to constantly ask myself.
Looks like you pretty well cleared the room. I think.
Okay, so we'll write it you, is that?
Lunch is at 12:30, so maybe we should go on. We'll take a quick break. Does anybody want to take a quick break, like 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and pick up. Start with what, yeah, and then take a break once you're free. Okay, yeah, quick 5-minute break, and then we'll get started with goals.
Starting to feel like heat in the back of my head.
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody's lining up.
Yeah.
So doing this.
So we are a bit ahead of schedule, so we thought before lunch, we would,
do an initial start on the goal setting process. I think for you all, since we have the well-established goals, going to perform goal refinement process at the end of the day. So in your binders, you'll see that you have lists of goals that are completed, so you won't those on any of these lists. And then these goals up on the list are just the goals that are currently in progress and are not completed yet. But before we dive into those and actually talk about whether or not you want to keep them on the list or make adjustments and add new ones, I just wanted to do a quick gut check with you to make sure that you actually still liked the overarching goals that you're kind of grouping or clustering your objectives underneath. So these are the current ones that you have. Like, for example, like for me personally, like administration, because for city council, I would almost argue that maybe good governance makes more sense than administration because your staff is administrators. But just so something like that, like is there any rewording or rethinking of these overarching goals you want to change?
I think the big key one, and that's communication, I think would be a new one, because that's something that we've really had a lot of conversations and call out for, is the communication. And I mean that, you can use it as internally, but I think it's primarily, it's community communication is to the people of Estacada. And as he was just talking about, people outside of Estacada too. I mean, the outside lying side, it's all that deals with communication and bringing their information in, but also getting information out to them. So.
I'm supportive of that too. Would that fall under facilitate community interaction? Or would you refine that one maybe to be communication?
I think it could fit under there, but I just think the communication would be it's a really big one by itself. And I think there's so much can fall into that. So maybe it could fall into there, or we can reword that to fit the word communication.
Under facilitate community interaction, we have improved community engagement on social media, which that's something maybe you want to discuss, because we put a lot of information out. We have a lot of people that follow all the pages that the city has and the committees have, but maybe.
Yeah.
I guess
Hmm.
separate goal with separate objectives, or do you want to?
I can see it fitting under there. I just think communication should be definitely be called out.
What would the purpose of communication be?
It's, for example, I had a conversation in our last Friday meeting. I think we went over quite a few things, like, for example, people don't know some of the things we're working on. For example, people still don't even know we've been working on the sewer system for over a year now. And just the other day I was talking to someone who had no idea. I just thought it's cool we were working on it. And they're on one of our committees in our city. So that's what I'm saying. There's people out there that don't have that interaction. They're asking these questions, and a lot of these arguments amongst community members, not even involving the council, has to do with things that we're already working on. They just don't know about it. And so communication can be getting them current activities of the city, things that are on the planning, things that we're actually working on, and what is really being done from what it perceives to be done. That could be one thing. Could be feedback from what we're hearing from them. So when they come out and they speak to us, when they send us emails, when they're doing different forms of communication to us, they call the city, whatever it is, what's being heard from the people. And then basically when you're active listening, you're listening to somebody, but you're repeating it back in your own words, what you're hearing. Some sort of attempt of like an active listening type of scenario where we're hearing it from them, but this is what we're hearing from you guys, the people, and then giving it back to them in a different way, showing that we're actually listening. Those type of things are communication. And then, also, I'm going to throw one more on there before you jump on that, is like, for example, our meetings, we have Zoom on there. Most people have trouble with getting on Zoom. So we have ways that we could stream our meetings to our Facebook, our YouTube, and other places live at the time with this very simple change of some software and stuff on the computer. And we can have people that are on Facebook jump into our meetings and see actively what we're doing by simply changing a little bit of technology. And that's going to bring people much more than trying to get into Zoom. And so things like that, that's opening up that communication, because we're giving them live that they could go, oh, well, I can watch this by simply just pulling up my Facebook or something. That type of stuff for communication. That's what I'm putting all that into one category. So
in terms of what you described, I would just say that those are definitely, more like objectives and strategies that would come underneath that umbrella. In terms of this actual title, is something like facilitate community interaction, communication. You feel like that's covering what
Yeah,
you're saying.
and communication works. Add the word in communication at the end. That works.
I see Counselor Prokop's wheels turning.
No, no.
You- okay, no, just, okay. Counselor Hughes?
I have, I'm wondering, can we reword promote community development and possibly change it to support responsible development? Because we know growth is yeah, it's gonna happen and it is happening, but I think we are all pretty much on the same page that, you know, we don't want to grow, you know, obviously we're working on the wastewater treatment plant. We've got, you know, road issues that we're trying to work through because the growth has been so quick. And sometimes we're just, you know, we're up against roadblocks and there's nothing we can do about it. But I think wording something appropriately, just so the community too knows that like, hey, we're not out here waving our flag saying, please come move to Estacada and completely overpopulate us and we can't give you water. You know, but just to say, hey, you know, growth is gonna happen. But we're gonna be responsible with it and to support that. So that's just why I was kind of toying with the idea of changing that. Responsible. Support responsible community development or development in general, whatever.
Does Taylor have thoughts on that? Because that community development included a lot of things.
I was gonna say,
like-
it does include like economic development and
Right.
other population growth necessarily.
But it's
And
the
I was,
growth.
yeah, I was gonna ask if maybe the word guide community development, or I don't know, up to you all.
Or just guide.
Or just guide. Yeah, yeah,
or
I'm good with
lead.
guiding, guides responsible.
Healthy, I
Or
like the
healthy,
mayor's
yeah.
suggestion for healthy.
I think,
Healthy
healthy
growth.
Development,
community
yeah.
development is the right way. I think that's a good.
Yeah.
She had. the
Just
word
kind of
that-
rewording it so we're, you know, we're like, hey, public, we're not out here to steamroll you with a bunch of people from Metro, you know, we are trying to be responsible about it.
I think healthy community development is a really good word because that's what people are looking for is healthy community development. I mean.
Because that includes the infrastructure,
Mhm.
the work opportunities. Where we don't deal necessarily with schools, but supporting schools so that there's good education and opportunities, other good services. So.
Or when I say, so want the word guide in there and.
You can say
Guide, healthy.
support healthy development. Does that work, Taylor? What do you mean, guide? Is that better?
I just think of the phrase community, like maybe this is just because I'm in
'Cause
the
it means
field,
more
like
to you,
community
right?
development, like as a field it's an umbrella that encompasses like economic development and planning and growth management.
Support healthy community development.
But if I feel like you could name it, right? Yeah, that's my problem. Yep.
You're very responsible.
Yeah.
Right, yep.
Responsible.
Yeah,
And also-
I think support responsible makes sense too as healthy, but the reason why is if we say the word guide. Think of it from a community member just looking at our goals. If a lot of people have really been objective to government guide, they want to feel like they own the government, which is true, they do. They people own the government. So if we say guide, it means like when we're directing them versus what we're meant to be is supporting them. So I think the words matter in this case because people are looking very closely right now. And so I think guides, I think support, what she said, support responsible, support healthy.
Support
is-
balanced. The growth makes me cringe a little.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think.
Yeah, let's say that.
And
That's true.
I know that people don't.
Think that-
And it's growth.
What if we changed it to something totally different, like vitality? So it was support, community vitality, which kind of encompasses the whole growth, but it also encompasses the things that we're talking about, like infrastructure, economic development, and that kind of thing.
I like that because I think development and growth are trigger words.
They are.
You know, they're.
Especially right now. So, but
Yeah.
I think as long as you do a good definement behind it as well, because, so. I think we need to make sure we're clear about what that means behind it, so.
Okay. Support community vitality.
That is a mouthful.
That is.
Maybe just support
rid of the
community vitality.
Well, if we do that, but what about healthy, support responsible, healthy, balanced community? vitality?
Hey, what's that?
Because
acronym?
looking under what we've got for that now, it's more than just growth itself, but we've got working with the downtown community or commercial properties, Main Street work, developing existing downtown events and creating event or unique events, seasonal decorations, improving landscape, a whole lot goes into that.
Yeah. Yeah. This is why it's so great to get like a brainstorm all in the same room, you know, and have some time to think about things and talk about it.
Any other, is there any of the other ones that you want to change or do you feel comfortable with the general?
Can we change administration to good governance? Is that okay?
Yes. I like that.
It's interesting that's already been changed in our packets.
No. Alex is really helping me. She's like, you can't change these. These are their goals. They adopted them. I'm like, oh, but I didn't.
Now we asked you to clean the closet.
I know. Oh, that's right. I can't just.
Counselor Litke's wheels are turning.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the ones there. Trying to think of what over the last couple of years people have said and did. And
What is
talked
public?
to us about.
And we've got kind of action words, facilitate, create, improve. And then public safety and good governance. What are we doing with public safety? What are we doing with good governance?
What? Yeah,
So
what's it?
your current overall, would be, you know, we will go over your, I should say objective. The current ongoing objectives you have under each of these, are laid out, that's kind of the next piece, then you do have the list of things that have been completed. So if you're okay with this title, then kind of the next thing would be to jump into what that really, you know, what comes underneath it, what are the objectives, what does that look like to you? But, if you're questioning the title, we can.
Were you, what I was gonna say, I was gonna ask if anyone else is OCD like me and wants them all to be start with a verb.
Or take out the verbs.
Or take out the verbs in the other one, right? Yeah.
I don't know.
Is it? The goal is like, we're gonna do a thing. Yeah,
Oh,
right.
That might
yeah,
be
we
the-
can take them
I'm
from
actually-
one, add it to it.
I'm actually wondering if public safety and also accessible community kind of fit in the same thing. I'm just kind of looking what's there and kind of listening over the last couple of years. I think they're kind of this, I think they kind of go hand in hand with each other. And so almost we could almost create a safe and accessible community.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, something along those lines. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, we have a traffic and public safety committee now that really focuses on that particular piece of it. And that's kind of all in their jurisdiction. So I think it's one way to do it. Yeah. And that kind of does her verb thing. Same time.
And then we
What
cross
are we
out,
thinking?
the-
I mean,
and then we cross out public safety.
Just take the objective.
yeah, I think it's just, there you go.
There we go.
The visual, thank you, Jerry.
I was trying to be frugal and I asked Tracy if I should order the 6-pack or the 2-pack. And we settled on the 2-pack, but I really wanted the 6-pack of those big things.
Yeah.
And she just said, you know, how often you're really gonna use them and they're kind of expensive. I'm like, okay, get the 2-pack. And then it wasn't available and I got the 6-pack.
Good thing you did.
It's good.
Do your city manager report.
Okay, good.
What verb could we put in a good government?
Oh, yeah.
Just to keep it.
Provide or ensure.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody mentioned maintain.
It's the first words they spoken to the mayor. We should go with that. Take it, run with what you can.
I think ensure is
I
a,
like ensure.
I think that's a good one. That's a kind of a proactive one.
And Mara might need help carrying all that stuff in.
Oh, she is like,
Oh, look at her go.
look at, she's got like
Yeah, she- I-
8 bags.
Or you the guys could. see this. And they'll just set it all out. Okay. I'm gonna read them out loud.
Create a safe and accessible community, improve community access, and ensure the.
Sounds good.
I love it.
Pretty good.
Okay, all right, another quick break. We have, we'll bring out some more.
S'mores?
drinks. We'll have more drinks and then, if anybody wants tea, we have a pot of water. I should turn off the Zoom. In the kitchen. And then we'll set out. Ready to go.
Okay. All right, so we just briefly, did a quick gut check on your goals, so I kind of went through and tried to make sure we have the little language up top. The goals listed here are your existing list, these are the items that are in progress and are not completed. So we wanted to make sure that these were front and center, just in case there was any feedback or adjustments desired to those. And then what we're really looking for is as we go through each one, is any new ideas you have, and things to add to the list. So we're gonna go through each goal, and discuss any new objectives you may have for that goal. And then we're gonna hand out these little dots to each of you. You get 6 dots, and then you're gonna vote on which of the new ones you feel is most important to be added to the list, so you don't get a really unwieldy list that staff can't handle, just with respect to, and what they can do in that capacity. So we're trying to be respectful of what can be done, and keep the list realistic. So that's the idea in terms of kind of whittling it down to what's most important to you all, and then we'll circle up the ones that get the most votes, and that will be what gets presented to you for formal adoption and. So,
If I could
Oh,
just
go
say,
ahead.
so if I wrote that kind of small to get it all onto the one sheet. So if you look in section 3 of your binder, or it's the section. I can't remember what I probably called it council goals or something if you're on the computer. There is each goal and the objective that is listed up there, and then staff also had a kind of a goal update and goal setting type of to look at these and make recommendations on what's been done or if there's like an obvious next step or something's already in the works. We wanted to note that for you. So there's the objectives that are written up there, and then there's recommendations that you can consider or not. Just some notes that we wrote down here.
Yeah, so any adjustments to language here, anything you want to take off, and anything that's branding. And we will start with goal 1, which we changed to facilitate community interaction and connection. So you want to start with the existing list? Sure. Your binders and together.
The recommendations I think are interesting here. The first one that we've got up there, continue collaborative partnerships. They give us 2 recommendations or give us a couple things to think about. It's already something that's ongoing and integrated into regular city priorities. A, consider removing it from goals, or B, if it's to remain a goal, find something specific and actionable to do, which makes sense if we were going to have goals. And that goes with the second one, I guess, as well too, to partner with the nonprofits. So I don't know, it's something I don't have an answer yet, but I think it's an interesting recommendation. Any thoughts, I guess, from the team or from you on how to make these specific and actionable.
Actually had a specific and actionable we could do is, one, I think it might be good to have a maybe an annual collaboration type of meeting amongst like the school district, fire department, actually get everybody in one room with the council and have some sort of like annual conference with them, like a one-day conference, and see what's important to the school district, what's important to the fire department, PG, so on with our partners, and see where we actually might be able to cross over between what's important to the city and those guys, maybe something that's important to the school district and the fire department is also important to the city. And then we all have the same things that's important to us. We can collaborate on those and discuss maybe how we can achieve that goal. And since some sort of like annual conference or something like that may be a good idea. And it's kind of the same thing with the nonprofits. You know, an actual item could be to set that conference and execute on it.
So I don't know if this is too specific or not, but there used to be a youth council. So I don't know if that's something too specific to put with the school district that we could try to initiate that.
Sounds like a refinement. That was like me. Current, right.
And we have pursued that in the past. with
Yes.
this council, and we just never got anywhere with it as far as the school was concerned. But yeah, it would be good to incorporate that.
Council, and then here we have more of a, almost like an annual summit of all parties or something like.
Yeah, there'd be two, one for the nonprofit, one, yeah, exactly. That'd be an actual item to work towards.
You see that as something that like we've done the nonprofit summits in the past. But this is more specifically like the council would be at each one of these and kind of interacting with the.
Yeah, I'll bring all the nonprofits into one annual summit with the council, because the goal is to see how the council can collaborate with these. And so while with the partnerships of the like school district and so on, or you at each one, you may get two nonprofits or the fire department, and the school district find out they can collaborate on something that may not be able to do with the city. But the whole point would be to see where the city can do it. And then if they happen to have their own branch out on that, great. But the summit's just try to facilitate that. So.
And I know we've been trying to work on building a better partnership between the school district and the city of Estacada as well. So it would be nice to have some sort of collaborative meeting with them and just saying, hey, how can we help you? How can you guys help us? What do you need? This sort of thing. So, yeah.
The DEIC is also working towards having a, collaboration or having a summit with local profits and community organizations. So that is something that, at least one of our committees is in the process of trying to create something like that. So.
And do you want me to add anything on that? Okay.
Can I ask a
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
clarifying question? Would it be a meeting with the boards of those other organizations or with the staff leadership or?
I would say boards. Yeah, because,
Mhm.
School district boards, the fire department board, PG, I don't think the board's gonna fit, but at least representatives from them. There's also some other things I hear, I think too, that aren't on that list, like we have the cemetery board that's in our district out here. Might be worth bringing them out here to discuss with us. The cemetery board is it's an elected board out here that's not too well known, but they have stuff in our city and our district areas. Might be good to just have them out there to see if there's anything maybe that we can work with them, something along the parks area or something, I don't know.
And then I think you have some maybe specific communication strategies you kind of touched on. When we talked about
Um,
friends and neighbors, or anything you want to-
Yeah, so as far as the communication piece, one of the things I had brought up is I know that this might be something we could add to a goal for maybe mid-year when we do the website, but have some sort of universal communication tool that, for example, like if a community member wants to come on and they want to reach out to the council, want to reach out to the Traffic and Public Safety Committee, the DEIC, they go to one form, they select who they want to go to, they fill out the communication, it gets emailed right to them. Makes it way easier to communicate back and forth between people and allows the community to, if they want to, even anonymously get some information to us. That's one piece. And then
Would you say like like through the website, some kind of.
communication tool.
would it make sense to say something like, because it sounds like you got a lot of good ideas here, but to develop a communication strategy or develop a communication plan? And then we could have something
out.
overarching, yeah, that would encompass a lot of these ideas as well.
Very
too.
specifics, yeah, because I think we're supposed to go for higher ones. So, but yeah, so definitely, I think that's one thing, because like the live streaming, I think I had to fit in there would work well too. And it all kind of falls into that communication piece, but,
So maybe just maybe saying something like develop a new communication strategy, in which case perhaps when the staff members can go to the actual action plan, they could reach out to you and just say, hey, what were your additional thoughts on that? And we can jot that down.
something like that. Yeah, I think then one thing I want to try to do is I think some of these need to kind of be more, I want to try to press, see if the council would push for sooner than later. Like the website thing, we can't do much on, but things that we can do is getting streaming to our social media out right away on simple changes. So we have all the technology in place. We just got to make some simple changes. We can get people involved much sooner. But if we like, for example, the communications form, if we try to chalk that up into the same block.
So I have a question on that. This the live stream. We have to keep a record of all
We'd have to,
live stream.
I think we'd have to
It
turn
would still be
comments off.
recording through Zoom.
I
You
think
still
we'd have
record.
to turn comments off in order for
Exactly.
us to do it.
That's all you do is turn comments off, so you don't have to track them.
And that is recordable. And do we have the equipment to do that?
I
Zoom will interact with our Facebook or with our YouTube, probably be easier to do it with our YouTube, and it records on Zoom, so it would be not much different than what we're doing.
This is
right now.
something I have a lot of.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
And
this
that,
is something I have a lot of experience in, guys, that I stream. It's, you get one piece of software that has multi-thread streaming in it. It's a piece of software that does it all. We have all the physical equipment that's there. It streams one source out to Zoom, one source to Facebook, one source to YouTube. When at some point down the road, when we get our website fixed, we can even stream directly to the website, and Zoom would be the recording piece of it. Or you can directly record separately if you want to. But when you stream to Facebook, stream to YouTube, stream to Zoom, it all records it in their own piece. You don't have to do any additional recording. It's part of their recording that they maintain that on there. So that part's done. She's right about turning off the comments, because that would be hard to track those. And then you can sometimes have problems with that. So, but getting it out there, and Facebook is one I really want to push the most, because a lot of our communities in Facebook, by having a streaming of Facebook going on with our council meetings, people can get the pop-up notifications. Hey, you have a stream coming. That's going to really push community integration to go, oh, I can pop up and see this. Even if they can't comment, that's fine, but they can at least see what's going on. They're going to be more aware of it. It's ease of access for them. We're going to get a lot more community involvement.
I'm just, my only concern is, any legality, any.
Could we, with caution on that part, and I don't know how to do the technology, but I know we can figure it out.
Well, I guess
Sure.
here's kind of my thoughts on this, is that I really have a new communication strategy. I feel like a lot of what you're describing are very specific, a little bit more in the weeds, like,
Yeah, and I think Paul had it right with the new communication strategy.
And going to that too, is you need to check legal and, the things of the strategy you need to check into. So what I would suggest is calling it a new communication strategy. It's one thing, otherwise, there's more things up here that, maybe.
Yeah, and I get that.
Reasonable. And then when staff, is assigned this, then they get into the weeds of what does that really look like? What are we talking about? What gets added? What's legally permissible? That kind of thing. So I think in general, this, I think this could cover with what you're getting into, and then the staff can.
Exactly.
can-
Like I said, I think he had a good summary of that new communication strategy. So.
Do we need to say why, what the purpose of that is? Is that to new communication strategy
just
for
say
ease of
to
access, or?
Yeah.
Or do- Okay,
So, are we moving on? Are we?
We can. Is there anything else for this list that?
Yeah. Yeah, so I kind of just briefly talked about it, but we have a very large population that aren't in city limits. And I was, and it's something that I want to talk about, is maybe developing a committee that would represent this large population that's outside of city limits, just to try to help them, help them know that their voices are being heard. I know they can come to our committee meetings and commission meetings and our council meetings, but it just, a lot of the comments and a lot of stuff that I'm hearing from people that I talk to is that they just don't feel like they have a voice in this community. They spend money in this community, they work in this community, they own businesses in the community. They don't feel like they actually have a voice in what, in our decisions and what we do. And I kind of wanted to, like I said, I wanted to continue talking about maybe the possibility of developing something that, gives them their soapbox, gives them their place to make those comments and bring them to council and, just something because I mean, it is a large population of outside the city limits community. And again, a good chunk of them, they just don't feel like they, their voice is being heard. Huh?
We've recently changed that.
Yeah.
Arts Commission, Parks Commission.
Downtown Estacada
Yeah,
Commission.
I see.
Yeah,
Traffic.
I see what he's saying and the point, what he's doing, and he's got a good point. I mean, he definitely, we want to get those guys a voice. The thing I've been when you mentioned earlier was trying to figure out exactly what would be like a goals or how when you write that up as an ordinance to form the committee, what would you be writing in there other than to bring the voice? And I think that's a challenge that I'm trying to figure out how that would be organized.
Maybe we can just help facilitate a group, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a committee, but, just something to help with
Mhm.
them, letting them know that we're listening to them, even though they're not in the city limits, this is, like I said, this is where they spend their money. This is where they, a lot of them work, a lot of them, do business here.
Mhm.
They
Would that be
eat here.
outreach? Like
Yeah, can we
outreach
just
to-
say engage the outside community? Because then we're not necessarily setting a specific,
I think
way
it's
we're gonna do it.
unincorporated estacada, I think is the word we're looking for. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
More
wouldn't
than
that kind
that?
of fall into the communication strategy though, as to how to communicate with that particular group set?
Well, like I said, I just kind of wanted to, I think it should be more than just engaging them. I think that we should try to help them form a group or something to where, I know it's tough and it's a big thing, but I just kind of feel like we should be doing a little bit more because.
Well, I think by having engage unincorporated Estacada on there, it gives us something. It's got a place mark
Starting
on there.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, that does seem like something that more discussion on this, for sure.
Yep.
Anything else for this specific goal?
On that note too, Jerry, just so you know, there are opportunities like the CPOs and the Granges that we have out there for you as a counselor to attend and then give an update. Because that's what I do as a mayor. I went to a few of those CPOs and I went out there and actually told them what we're up to. And they have quite a big following, those CPOs. So, and they gather at the Granges and there's like 150, 200 people. So it might be a good way for you to reach out because there's nothing stopping you from informing. So I don't know what to thought.
Maybe they don't live in Scottsdale today, but that's there or things like that, and or maybe they're just on the road boundary and they're interested. So I definitely think that could be very helpful. Okay. So we've got your legal meetings, so we've got support and community vitality. This is your existing list. Okay. You want to run through what we have current?
Okay, so what we still have on here, there's 6 things listed. The continue working with downtown commercial properties and disrepair. One of the recommendations on that would be to work on a urban renewal, like a wrap up strategic plan, because we had the 5-year plan that ended in 2020 and the program will end by 2026. So we need to kind of bring that. How are we going to conclude that? What's the priorities? And it is in the downtown district. And so there's, if you want to set a goal around that, or, I mean, that's pretty specific to see what, what could come through that. Then continue planning and reconstruction of Main Street from the highway to Southeast Third. And that's, that could be updated because we're right at the end of that final design, and that'll be done by the middle of the year if you want to leave it on there or if you want to revise it. Develop and promote existing downtown events and create new unique events that will attract people to Estacada. The committees are doing a lot of work in this. And so I don't know if you want to hand that off to them or leave it there and maybe give them specific guidance on that. Promote seasonal decorations with downtown businesses, support infrastructure to attract visitors, and then improve the landscape. So those are pretty specific. I'm not sure. Yeah, but they're just the landscape is hopefully going to happen this summer. I'd say that because I need to finish getting the plan and budget in place for that. It's a little more expensive than I thought. And then I'd like some more clarification, like on support infrastructure to attract visitors. There's some recommendations from staff that is in your notebook there for that particular goal, if you have ideas about that. But yeah, just interested to hear where we'd like to take this one, supporting community vitality.
I'm just curious, under the develop and promote existing downtown events, and then we have the events listed in the committees that are overseeing those. Are we going to get the public and traffic, the safety committee involved in that as well, since these are going to be, if we close down streets and just having, large groups of people gathering, are they going to look at these events prior to them kicking off? Or if they see any holes or gaps in something that like, oh, hey, we should maybe close off the street here, or this might be a hazard, or I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. I hadn't thought about that before. Typically it's public works and fire and
Okay.
police that take a look at that. But as far as
Not
the
to put more
committee,
stuff on the plate
I
of the,
That actually
Yeah.
kind of gives me an idea. We get the applications for the closing down streets for events. And we can have them look at, review and approve those. And if need be, then escalate it to the council. If need be, kind of like the planning commission does for some like, what is it? Conditional use items. We can have have them look at and approve those requests for street closures. And if need be, then promote them up to the city council. It's one less thing for us to do in city council, and it's right up their alley.
It might,
Yeah, because we did just shorten the timeline for events, and you're asking us to add another step to
right.
that, and that'll
should be
potentially
able
put it out another month if we have to put it on
But
the
it's
agenda. for another
45 day
committee.
and they have one every month. So I mean,
I
that's
know.
within that period of time.
It still needs to go to the police department. It still needs to go to the fire department to get their approval too, and that, and.
But what if it's just, things that are already on, like that we
Yeah.
always have
Like your
scheduled, like the
standard.
4th of
Oh,
your
okay.
standard.
Okay.
I'm talking like the
Standard.
standard that we had, not just the last minute. I get the last minute. We
Okay.
might be in a time crunch, but like 4th of July and the October, things that are like every year we do the thing.
Mhm.
So.
Then we could review and evaluate and make recommendations for how that could be. Is this different? The traffic and public safety, yes.
I still would do this kind of more personal. I don't know
Mhm.
this process. I don't know.
Okay.
Right.
The goal, but-
Sure.
Yeah, let's put it over there. Typically, those, the event applications don't come to the level of council, right? They just they're reviewed, and if everything is met, then staff approves those. So that would be one. I don't know that, if you want it to be looking at those.
Yeah.
I think the only one that I've ever seen come to council was the,
It was the last
So-
minute.
Yeah.
variance requested, yeah.
And the farmers market I brought last year because that was, in fact, that they haven't turned in a request yet, but I think they really enjoyed being in that, our public parking lot over there. But that is like an ongoing event. So if they want to do it again, I probably would bring it to, because it's every Saturday all summer. And I feel like it's a good fit, but it would be up to you if we want to utilize the.
I just think it's up their alley. I mean, she's got a good point. It's up their alley. Let's use the resources we have.
I'm just thinking with big events that we have always
Mhm.
done in the community, you know, the one right before the 4th that, you know, that's a huge, and just the fact that we have more people in the area, it's like, oh,
Right.
there's gonna be more cars parking in this spot. That might, we might have to reroute some things, but again, I know that's into the weeds and.
Good ideas though.
I like it though. It does fall into public safety, so it makes sense that they would be involved in some fashion. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
game for that.
They work directly with the law enforcement, so
Yeah.
too, and that also helps to facilitate their concerns directly with the city, so.
I'd like to see increase the number of jobs in the community, maybe isolated from the rest of the things in I don't know that it lines up with attractive visitors, but I'd like to take a look at what we can do to make properties like the 50-acre parcel that those companies that wanted to come in there and the infrastructure wasn't in place to allow them to operate there, what we can do to make that parcel more attractive, to bring a larger company with good paying jobs into that place. What were it was the amount of water that was available?
Are
Was
you,
one of
you're,
them that-
oh, no, you're talking about,
Water and
it's water
sewer.
and sewer, yeah.
Water and sewer.
And
and-
you were talking about the microprocessors. They sent us that thing, looking at that parcel, and we don't even have the water rights in order to fill that. But there are other options if you wanted to look at increasing jobs that could go into that parcel that don't use as much water, because that is
Yeah.
really excessive. There's
would be-
literally 2 in the whole entire state that have enough infrastructure to support those.
Understood.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we could be doing? I know it's been
Mhm.
sitting for sale for like a substantial period of time. Is there anything we could do to make it more attractive to bring a big business in there or something? It would be
Mhm.
something I'd like to focus on is encouraging bringing businesses. I hear a lot of community members saying that they're traveling outside of the city for work. They're struggling to be able to afford housing. And I think that you can either make housing cheaper or you can bring more opportunity to the area where they can afford more expensive housing if need be. And I just think it's something I'd really like to focus on if the rest of the council lines up with that. Yeah. Yeah, bringing more opportunity, better paying opportunities for the community.
I think that would fall into the same category as the Business Alliance, right?
Mm.
Promoting business in the area that promotes safe growth and responsible growth, if you have the jobs to. So.
Or an economic development commission.
We not only go so far though, Business Alliance is more the recruitment of outside businesses coming into the area that you're insufficient in. Let's say you want to see a job come in that supports the kind of growth that you're talking about in your area to build new houses. A Business Alliance gives you that opportunity to go out there and grab those, whereas an economic development commission works locally.
I would say generally in my experience is the opposite. The Business Alliance works locally and the economic development is looking outside your area to recruit businesses in. But this sounds like something that we can like iron out the details later about like, you know, how we're going to move down the path towards that goal.
I was actually looking into a business alliance actually myself. It was kind of funny you mentioned it. I think I mentioned it to you, Melanie, at one point. And actually have to agree with the mayor. When I was looking at like the Oregon City ones and things like that, they all have them. While none of them are actually government-based entities. It's actually, they're all nonprofits from what I could tell. But the cities work closely with them and in some cases grant them for the purpose of X. They create grants. Hey, the grant is to attract new businesses or do X with businesses. And there's specific grants that knows that they've done for those. But they do work with them. And I've noticed that the business alliances, if there's a specific type of business that the that the city is trying to attract in. They work with the Business Alliance to bring that business in and then support that industry. That's just been my experience. I've been trying to look into them because I was going to try to bring one up this year at some point and see if what we could do with it. Because trying to figure out a better way, kind of the same thing was how to attract certain businesses in. My goal is more about, there's been a lot of questions about shopping, like as far as like grocery store, something like that. That was kind of more my focus is on that piece. That's why I've been looking into it. But you know, it's something I think we should definitely look into is a business alliance or something along those lines. Or if it's not that particular piece, I think it's the biggest thing is it's not going to be a government-based entity that we can do that with. I think it's going to be what kind of outside organization can we support to achieve the goals of that? And how would the city properly influence that or to work with them to do it? So.
I think as a goal, you can say something. Business alliance, but I don't, develop and support.
I think it'd be more about support a strategy to attract specific needs to the community. Is specifically about businesses that help support the community to, work within Estacada. Mine would be more about specifically helping them for cost of living to be reduced by offering a competitive way to shop in the area or to bring resources in for that type of thing. So I think it's more specifically supporting the strategy for the needs of the people would be a better way to kind of form that.
So
How would you want that?
Support the strategic support of the needs of Estacada. I mean, something along those lines.
So, what
I think yours was a little generic for what I'm trying to say. That's my thought.
I kind of think what I'm hearing you say is you want to analyze the business needs of the community and then recruit businesses to fill those needs.
And a strategic point, yeah, I guess that's kind of a good way to say it. So, I mean, am I like kind of coming across what I'm trying to say, or am I kind of babbling?
I'm having a hard time trying to summarize it for you. I hear what you're saying, but I'm having a hard time giving her something to put up there, but what you wrote down for what I was.
We'll let your expertise fill that out.
Yeah,
first.
it's kind of like seeing what is missing in the market, what people need here, and then see how we can recruit businesses to fulfill those needs that are missing in our current market.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out a way to be more specific about it because, being generic on economic or development, it's so broad and I wanted to be
Yeah.
specific because there's very specific needs that the people of Estacada have been asking for.
Well,
Yeah.
I think what Elena brought up as well too, that's something that's actionable
Yeah.
as well
and-
too. And then
There's a bit of a muddying of the waters in terms of the goal and the strategies. To implement the goal. I think we can kind of work with this a little bit.
Yeah.
We need like support staff, delve in.
Figure out the strategy of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, something that I've liked the last couple of meetings is we've had more communication with the Chamber of Commerce. I think we need to continue developing that communication with the chamber so that they know what we're trying to do and we know what they're trying to do. I just think that, furthering communication with the chamber is going to help support community vitality.
Yeah, I think that also falls back into the nonprofits that we'd also then have like a summit, make sure they're there
Yeah, but I
too.
think that with the chamber, I think it falls more under this than any of the other local nonprofits do. I think
Because they represent the businesses.
The business, gotcha.
specifically with the chamber, I think that this is their.
Could we, I'm just throwing this out there, could we add something to, see, as we're getting onto we kind of flow into the next page, and this is update the DEC strategic plan with public engagement in order to develop a community-driven plan for downtown. Can we also include driven plan for downtown and uptown, since we have businesses uptown?
That was, so this is, that is.
It's part
it's
of the
third one.
develop and promote existing downtown events and create.
And then one of the recommendations or possibilities from staff was to update the DEC's strategic plan. With public engagement, which that's a mouthful. I'm not sure what that.
I just know some of the businesses uptown feel a little slighted when we're constantly saying downtown.
You got a good point. I think wasn't one of the main reasons why we had the DEC to
Yes.
focus on the Main Street program that we had there. That was one of the biggest things behind them, wasn't that?
They're currently, our code establishes them as the responsible body for fulfilling the requirements of the Main Street America and Oregon Main Street program, which requires them to focus downtown. But we did recently learn from is it the state representative?
It's a state director.
They don't have to only focus downtown. Their primary focus should be the downtown core, but they can absolutely support, and work on strategies that support businesses outside of that area. So
I just know that, I mean, as we grow, we're going uptown, we're going that direction, and more stuff's just gonna get developed there. So I'm just trying to think ahead a little bit.
Do you have a downtown commission or some sort in your city, or what do you guys have in that type of specifics where you guys are at?
Development committee, that deals with a lot of items and provides some level of support and advice on things in which the urban renewal agency. We actually have a county economics team that is a separate 501c3, but they receive funds from most of the cities in the county. And they help us recruit and do various things. So we meet with their executive leadership team quite often. The urban renewal agency is council.
Mhm.
And then we do have a chamber, but in the past few years, especially during COVID, weren't very active with people a lot. So they're just kind of getting their feet back under them. Those are really kind of the more economic.
Yes, the Economic Development Committee. I kind of feel like that's kind of what we're talking about, because I'm guessing it focuses on the whole city, not a specific
Yes,
section.
And people on that committee don't have to live in the city. They just need to have either a business in the city. or
Yes.
some kind of
I think
specific-
And
that's
that's
kinda-
what we just changed our
Yeah.
code to.
Yeah, that they-
I think maybe what we put on there is see how we can convert the DEC into that's a downtown Estacada commission
yeah.
into an economic development committee, how we can convert that committee into something that focuses on the entire city rather than just being specific to the
I
downtown.
think what Taylor was saying is that meets a condition for one of the groups. Can we change it, Taylor? Or
They
would we just
are-
add?
We're
They-
putting you on the spot. You can say, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll say what I do know. My understanding is that it would be okay, they would still meet the program requirements for them to focus citywide. But where's the line? But their primary focus would need to be, they would need to have a heavy focus on the downtown core in order to be fulfilling those Main Street program requirements.
Weren't they kind of questioning if we still wanted to do the Main Street? I mean, what is the benefits of the Main Street program? I mean.
We can definitely go into that if you want to right now.
Yeah,
Well, well,
But it's
Yeah.
kind of a
Yeah.
lot.
All right, I'm kind of curious, because if that's. Yeah. Maybe converting them into a
Yeah.
full city base versus than just one, but that might be obviously just determining if we still need to.
Or
Paul.
even just coming up with an economic development committee separate from that.
Possible, yeah.
But I,
The DEC downtown Estacada.
But I'm
checking.
My thought is, something to look into would be maybe even, I know that committees can have subcommittees, and can we fulfill it if they have a subcommittee focusing on the downtown? But the main core of the committee is.
They have to have 4 subcommittees based on the Main Street requirements. So the DEC should have 4 subcommittees covering the 4 points of Main Street already. So it would be like a subcommittee under a subcommittee, the way you're,
That gets
yeah.
complicated.
it's definitely going to be a very long
Okay, so
discussion.
maybe
about
like
this.
a parking lot.
Yes. Mhm.
So.
There, for more reading information, in section 5, I put a bunch of additional, I won't call it superfluous information, but there's a bunch of stuff in here. So there's Joel and I couldn't think of the name of it the other day, the org chart, organizational chart. That's it. So there,
My section 5.
yes. Your section 5 is empty?
Yeah.
Oh. goodness. Okay,
Oh,
wait.
section 6. Got it. Good.
I don't know. Anyway, so there's an org chart, talks about what all the different departments do, the city acronyms, to keep going, there's some maps, but there's also a color map tucked in the back. And then you get to a list of code changes that we're not talking about yet. And then there's a memo from Mara talking about Main Street, and it goes through a lot of the it's a few pages, but it kind of gives you an idea of what activities are expected from Main Street. So it might be just a good background reading before we get to discussion, not too much. And Taylor, you want to add?
Yeah, and it does go into, kind of gives you a summary of the benefits of the Main Street program and some of the requirements of the program that could be viewed as, burdens, because you do have to meet certain requirements. But also, if you're looking at economic development work that a city should be doing, we should be doing those things anyway, right? So, so our argument would be the Main Street program, participating in the Main Street program is a net plus. There's a lot of great resources and assistance that's available, free assistance available through that program. And so we could maintain our participation there while expanding that committee's focus to include economic development outside of the downtown, in addition to that focus on downtown.
Yeah, it's further discussion later. I did want to just real quick, because it took me a little bit to look at this, the org chart. I wanted to point out something. The way it's written on here, the council advisory committees would actually kind of be to the left or to the right side branch of our council. And not all the way at the bottom there. It's just that didn't fit. So I wanted to clarify that, because I look at like 3 times. I'm like, that doesn't look right. But there's a little line to the side, especially those who are new. There's no under reporting of these. They report directly to the council. So. Do we have that on our city website, by the way, for the public?
The org chart?
The org chart.
I don't know if we have the updated one, because we've
There was an
updated this
old one,
one.
I
There's an
think, on-
old one on there and it's not updated with the current.
That'd be kind of nice to get that on the
Yeah.
city website.
I was gonna say, one of the ones that we could maybe think about removing is promote seasonal decorations with downtown businesses as a annual. I don't, city does that already. I don't know that it needs to be a council goal.
I can agree on that.
Yeah.
And then for that first one, the continue working with the downtown commercial properties, we've got a recommendation in here to developing a plan for urban renewals final years. That's something we could talk about for the council, since we're urban renewal. What do you guys think of that? Trying to get something in place as we wind up urban renewal?
I think the question is, because I think we have the ability, if we wanted to, we could continue and do a second round of urban renewal. I think that's the real question is, do we want to do that? If not, then how do we want to wrap it up? So, and is there a benefit for doing another urban renewal period?
So maybe a goal would be to assess urban renewal agency that continued moving
Yeah.
forward, and
Yeah,
then
I
the
think that's a good
follow-up
one.
would be to consider winding it down if not, or how to wind it down.
I'm good with that.
How many years left do we have in this one?
Yeah, 26, so
Okay, so we have a little time.
three more, a little bit of time. A little bit of money. Want to make sure we maximize that.
I'd like to see if we could get. I'd like to see if we can get a decision made with the current council.
Hmm.
So regardless of what happens in the election that comes up in 2 years, I'd like a decision. I'd like to see if we could get, this council, because it's going to be really hard. I know that this is, further discussion into that and to be assessing it, but I'd like to see a decision made with this council, because if for some reason the 3 of you and the mayor aren't part of that, aren't part of this council after 2 years, it's just going to be really hard getting everybody caught up in 1 year to make it, to have a decision made on whether we continue or whether we, redo urban renewal or we.
It's probably a 2-year process too, if we're gonna renew it, because then we're gonna have to go back to the taxing agencies, get permission. It's a really long process, so we couldn't wait 2 years if we wanted to do it.
Yeah, so I would like to, like I said, I would like this to be a high priority goal,
So
because I would prefer having, everybody being the most educated that we can be, making this decision rather than a brand new council coming in, the possibility of more than half the council being different and having to make that decision. So I would like to see if, you know, during this process, we can make that a higher priority goal to get that figured out.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So I think that is gonna take a workshop to really kind of get us the information and then, okay.
And to that point, that is what we're doing with the little voting website afterwards, to make sure that the ones that people are grabbing are the ones that are supporting the group.
Can I ask for clarification on support infrastructure to attract visitors? Yeah. I should know what that means because it was a goal I was supposed to be implementing. But I.
Was that the signage, public library here or directions to this place or that place?
That was,
Do you guys
The wayfinding signage.
wayfinding signage?
yeah, and I think that
Yeah,
was in a
that's
different.
in a
section.
different section.
It looks like to me, just kind of looking. what's
That's in the
there,
create accessible community section, I think.
It looks like to me, based on kind of when I think about it is, for example, we're cleaning up Main Street a little bit. We did some stuff on Broadway, things like that. That's gonna attract visitors to come in. Putting more things, it could be signage, it could be anything like that, that gets people to stop in Estacada. I mean, tourism really isn't infrastructure necessarily, but that could kind of falls in that area a little bit. So that's kind of what I think of when I see that. I think the word infrastructure is a problem there because it's not just infrastructure. So I think it's,
I think with the fires, it really it hurt our tourism a lot. So I think with things opening back up, we can kind of get things moving again as far as encouraging tourism.
well, we,
I think supporting tourism, goes towards that, increasing our communication and our relationship with the chamber.
I was actually starting to wonder, because we're a big tourism, this tourism is a big thing for us, and we're gonna only get bigger that way, tourism, especially as things open up. Is almost considered bringing tourism in-house, hiring someone part-time and bringing it completely indoors. And having, so that we can have more control and direction on that, and then have a budget that goes specifically towards it. And have tourism be an in-house thing. So.
Do you want to get rid of this one and put the community down here about?
I think tourism is a big thing. I think we really need to discuss that. So the infrastructure doesn't really seem like it makes a lot of sense in this one.
Mhm.
I think it's. So basically focus on tourism, I think is a big thing.
The recommendations was to phrase it as support research-based tourism efforts. So we're getting, I don't know if staff wants to weigh in on that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, because I've served on some tourism boards and didn't work on this. Part of what we were talking about was, and this goes along with like the market study for economic development, is seeing, who we're reaching, what are we doing to reach the people who would be our target market for this area? So if our target market is, let's say, kayakers, where do kayakers go? Are we doing the work that needs to go towards kayakers, that kind of thing? Because right now it's kind of a broad based and not necessarily focused.
So like I said, I think that's why she's kind of what she's saying. Yeah, tourism strategy.
Yeah, bringing tourism in-house. It's grown to such a degree in our city. We gotta, over the years, all you do is look around and see how much tourism drives the city. We need more emphasis on that. So I think bringing it in-house.
And at least I believe by having it in-house, it allows us to be more pinpoint adjustment. So for like, hey, we've identified through research that tourism is the tourism in kayaks is a big thing. Well, we can adjust that quickly by, either having our in-house person focus. Like I said, whether it's a position or whatever it is, I'm if I get to hire someone, a tourism expert or something, but I think that really kind of gives.
Would that be limiting us too much with tourism though? What we would want to explore the feasibility of bringing it in-house, something along those lines, but we would also want to be enhancing like our relationships with Travel Oregon or Mount Hood Territories, things along
You'd
those lines.
you'd still be advertising and things with them, but you'd have someone that's managing that in-house.
I'm with you there. I like the idea. But are we there yet? Would be the question. So I'm just saying, our goal wouldn't be necessarily to bring it in-house, but our
Well, I
goal would be to.
I think the reason why,
evaluate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Analyzing is a good idea, but I think the reason why I put in-house is because if you look at some of the larger cities that do on tourism, a lot of them have it in-house. It's a progressive step to go that way anyways.
I like the idea. I'm just.
Yeah,
from a-
I understand.
from a
That's
goal
why I was
standpoint.
kind of moving that direction. Good point. So,
So we could replace this with that if that's.
yeah,
And some more reading, if I could direct you towards the, I
The
think
white
it's the
page.
very last, I should have probably divided these up more, but I think it's the very last.
Under 6, if you
Yeah,
have it.
yeah, there's. It says white paper on advancing economic vitality for the city of Estacada. And then there is nobody claimed credit for this, which I just noticed this morning, but John Lagarza, who used to work for Clackamas County in economic development, is out on his own. And so I take this with a grain of salt because I know he is also wanting to, he's wanting to do business in Estacada. And so he's gonna, he's trying to reach out to us, say, hey, how can I support you with my company? But this is a really interesting, healthy, sustainable communities, a white paper on advancing the economic vitality for the city of Estacada. And he talks about a few different strategies. And one of them is tourism, growing the city's expanding tourism base through innovative programs and partnerships. And he just talks a little bit about it. So this might be something that we could explore with him, or he could bring us some training on, and we could look at strategies. And so, but this, I think, it's good information that he provided to us for just background when we're starting to look. Yeah, I think so too.
I think what she said about the changing that into a tourism strategy is a good idea.
Okay, perfect.
There's, yeah, sorry, there was one more thing on here I saw. It said something about look into lodging tax for supporting tourism. So lodging tax, I think is that a discussion we want to have, or do you want to skip over that for the year? Because technically, don't we actually have one on our books? We just don't
do.
enforce it.
We have it and Sadie might need to help me with this. We have it in our ordinances, right? In our code, but we didn't apply or do you want to speak to it, Sadie? No. Okay. So it's in the code. We haven't adopted the fee. So if you want to. Right, that's all that we would. Mhm. So we could,
Because that could provide additional funds for promoting and putting into that. So maybe put in. Yeah, so that might be something to kind of add.
so look into lodging tax.
Yeah. Well, I think we have it. I think she's got to maybe put under the strategy, like a little bullet point that might be a big thing to talk about. Yeah, because that's gonna be part of our tourism strategy. I think that might be part of putting the money together for it. And that's already something we have. To just make that a discussion point that we have, and that's kind of a big point of that. So. Because it kind of falls under that, I think, is that strategy piece.
Sure brought up, the redevelopment of the Red Fox is coming online here pretty quick. We need to be in place before that gets renovated.
Exactly.
Lobbying facilities.
Okay, so I think we're kind of wrapping up on this topic, and this one that I'm gonna bring up kind of fits in this goal and in the next goal, but I think we need to get more involved with ODOT, Clackamas County on the upkeep and improvements to and I know everybody's gonna agree with me on this, but on our routes in and out of town. A couple of years ago with the fire, we had it was a disaster trying to leave. It wasn't that much better coming back. We need to be more proactive, more involved with, the powers that be on our routes in and out of Estacada, because we have very few routes in and out of Estacada, and some of them are in disrepair. I know it's not a easy it's not easy to drive Springwater Road. Then once you get down to Carver, it's terrible to get back onto 224. Redland Road is a mess. There's a lot of spots on 211 that need to be fixed. 224, I know it's a continual work in progress, but it can be treacherous. And then, of course,
Exactly.
Amasinger going out that way. But I just think that we need to be a little bit more involved if we can with the powers that be to get that, get those routes. And I know that supports community vitality because it's how we get people out here. And it's also part of the great and accessible and safe community. So where we want to put it, up to you guys, but I think that's something we need to discuss in this next year.
And then just a little clarity on that. Derek, I don't know if you know what C4 does.
Yeah.
But C4 is our connect to ODOT and all of that and the work that's being done on 224. And a little update on that. The Sunrise Corridor was a big help for us if it had continued, but they put that project on hold. That would have helped us immensely with this whole connect ability issue that you're talking about and where we come in and where it's going. Right now, the funding isn't there for our area, unfortunately, because Metro's pretty much set which way they want things to go. So that's where our main connect is with ODOT and that, but we have been lots of talks, lots of, how do I put this, tension, because I consider that a very important thing as well, especially after the fires that proved it. But still, ODOT operates out of its own purse and they're very, very tight with where that money goes and where they're willing to put it out. So we're still negotiating back and forth, but it's an argument all the time. And,
We actually picked some of those concerns from our traffic safety committee. They made recommendations, we took it up to the county's traffic committee, and then the two of us then go to ODOT. And that's actually been kind of successful in getting some things picked outside of city limits, but things that people in Scappoose complain about. So that could be kind of a route to get at that, but it does take time because like I said, ODOT's very, well, they don't have enough funding and they tend not to fix things unless there's accidents on file, things like that.
There's
So
a
they're
lot
not
of accidents on that road.
Just trying to get a simple street light up on a couple of intersections it has been a nightmare, just outside of city limits. And, but I mean, we've experienced the worst possible scenario. Going out that way, we have mud, rock and mudslides, 20 times a year plus. There needs to be some improvement. I just feel like we need to, I don't know how much communication's been done at C4 because I've never attended a meeting, but I just feel like that we need to be the squeaky wheel and try to get our voices heard more because we need, the community needs those routes. And some of them are just as they said are treacherous.
I think she gave a good point. So we can put it with the next one because the traffic and public safety can help push and maybe reinforce.
Reinforce
what
what C4 is doing.
Exactly.
Just want it to be a discussion topic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's a good point. It's to stick with that one because it's, I mean, this morning, there was a near fatal accident just this morning on it, so.
Yeah, I said it could fit on either
We'll
one.
put it over there.
I just want to add on to what y'all were just talking about with the evacuation routes and out of city, beyond our urban growth boundary roadway issues. So we're in the middle of updating our transportation system plan that generally only concerns things within our urban growth boundary, but the county will, I know that the Clackamas County is gonna be updating their transportation system plan in about a year or two. They're gonna begin that process. And they tend to, they want to look at what the cities have adopted in their plans and, align their plans accordingly. And so just noting that if we want to, make sure to include our conversation and recommendations on like evacuation routes and other issues on those roadways that are outside of our UDB under Clackamas County authority, then that's something we want to make sure we capture during our TSP process.
Yeah.
Also, oh, sorry.
Isn't there a section in the TSP that deals with the routes to and from the cities? I believe there's a section in there, isn't it?
I don't know if it's its own section, but we could add a section. I mean, it would make sense for there to be a section on, something looking at how the surrounding roadway system interfaces with ours. And then those recommendations, they don't, if we adopt them, that doesn't mean that the county has to do anything about it, but it would be an official, recommendation from the city to the county saying, or, identifying issues on those roadways or something like that.
And the county, the Clackamas County is going to be starting evacuation planning. That's one of the emergency management processes they're going to be doing here soon. And we serve on that. We can serve on that committee. So if we're considerably, yes.
Their traffic public safety committee into that would be great because the county didn't really impress on the previous evacuation stuff. And so I definitely think it's good to have Estacada in there. So absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So along that, and I know this is a discussion when we start getting into this goal, but this is something that we can collaborate with Malala with. I don't know if Colton has a city government or not, but Eagle Creek, Boring, Barton, we can, maybe try to get some collaboration with all of the communities that are really affected by our main thoroughfares, our main ways in and out. Maybe get some collaboration there and, maybe go with the bigger voice, because right now we're our Estacada, city population, 5,000, whatever. We got, say, 15,000 in, total in the surrounding areas, including Colton and Eagle Creek, but, if we got Malala involved, if we could collaborate with Malala, if we could collaborate with Boring, even Carver and Damascus, maybe get some collaboration where we can go with a bigger voice. We can go with a bigger voice than, just Clackamas County, than just Clackamas and Happy Valley. If we could get, do something to collaborate to, like I said, go in with the bigger voice with more, I think, we might see some change. Because every single one, all of those towns are affected by our main thoroughfares in and out. We don't have a lot, but every single one of them is affected by it. And, just.
Would something like focus on improvement of emergency evacuation routes, that focus, and then obviously all of these different strategies then to address that, is that?
I don't even want to say just emergency evacuation route, just routes in and out of Estacada,
Yeah.
Collaborate with the county for failing intersections, not just ones that are related to ODOT, but collaborating with the county on intersections that are known to fail in TIS studies and bring the supporting documents with it would be helpful.
Yeah, there's some identified ones in traffic studies that are failing in the area. And then there's also those other well-known ones.
Is this another one or is this building off of?
I think that's
Jerry's?
building off of Jerry's. Yeah.
What's our actual?
Yeah, well, the end goal is to find a way to get those fixed. So, I mean, that's I
Collaboration.
think collaboration on.
Existing or other, yeah.
My personal goal is to bring Jerry with me to C4.
Let's give him the mic.
All is represented, so is Sandy, but it's a tough fight.
Yeah, but just, like I was saying, just, if we could get all those together, not at C4, all those together before that, get everybody together before that and go in with a singular voice, a singular goal. Like I said, we experienced worst possible scenario during the fires and then after the fires with what's going on. And every time there's ice, we experience worst possible scenario. Just, whether it's down trees or just the fact that just they don't come out here to handle the ice as efficiently as they do in Clackamas County. Just, I mean, driving Carver curves is a lot more treacherous than driving on, 82nd Avenue. So we can get 30,000 feet, 30,000 people, the representatives of 30,000 plus people together, we might have more of a voice,
It's like a petition or something.
Let's see.
Should we move that one? What should we say around our police services? Like to. Cause that, do you want to keep it just as it's phrased there, but put it up with the other one or?
Yeah.
Well, I think obviously the.
It's so it's-
These are
That would be
combined.
the- okay, okay, okay,
But yeah, it's obviously like.
okay.
Can you slide that over to this way a little bit? Oh, Thank you.
with, goal of public safety there, prepared to increase police service in advance. I love that because I want to do that, but at the same time, I want representation. Right now, I have met with Mendoza at a council meeting, maybe once or twice since this project started. Now, we're paying more money for our services. We've got, we've got a lot more people coming on board to try to increase this. But I would like us to have more one-on-one with Clackamas to go over issues we may or may not have, or police strategies that they may want to hear from us that might help them than we are right now. So that would be my only increase to that goal, is to increase our contact with Clackamas in the future so that we have one-on-one with them. I know he's meeting with you, but it needs to be more the council in
Yeah.
that room with them. I need to hear about some of this that's going on.
And we put in the Public Safety Committee commission to be, didn't we put them in to be a voice with Mendoza, and then they would come to us with what they've seen? Is
Yeah,
that?
we put them there to have the direct contact with them and work with them directly. So there's a law enforcement to committee relationship, and then for them to bring that to us. So the whole point was to try to remove any of the extra third party issues there. Let a group of people that are focusing specifically on that work directly with the law enforcement, identify the issues. And if there's something where council needs to approve or fix something, bring it to us so we can focus on that, and then we have more targeted.
Mike, I know that there's only been a couple of meetings, but has there been law enforcement represented at the?
yeah, Lieutenant Mendoza, and I don't have my notes with me. I was gonna bring them for the report on the last one, but he went over a summary of some analytics for like data points for the last year, comparing year over year.
But have they attended like, how many meetings have you guys had?
Four.
It's been five.
There's two of their committee.
And has there been representation at the majority of the meetings?
Two of them.
Two of them, yeah.
I-
I missed, I think one of them, but the last one he was at.
I think it's absolutely for the council. I get having them come quarterly makes a good sense to get us that. But I think it's like, it should almost be mandatory to have, if he can't make it, then he needs to send a representative or somebody into the traffic and public safety committee to be there, ready to at least answer or to, coordinate with.
Take note of concerns.
Something, yeah, so that we have some sort of interaction. I mean, we spend about $1 million a year with Clackamas County. I think the least we can get is some communication at the city level. That's a least expectation. And I think it's more important is, I don't know if you guys have heard, but the question is from the people of Estacada, it's the shouting is getting louder. What is going on? But a recent issue that's come up in the Traffic and Public Safety Committee is there's a lack of trust in the police department to be able to do anything about the problems. I mean, there was 2 muggings recently, and they didn't get reported because the people didn't feel the law enforcement could do anything in our city. And so that's a serious problem. So we need to start
So-
addressing those issues.
I would encourage you to listen to the last hour of the Traffic and Public Safety Committee meeting. It was 2.5-hour meeting. Jim hung in there for the whole thing. It was good. But the last hour, especially Mendoza was reporting out and discussing some of those issues, and it clarified a lot of things. But I know I think that That's a great recommendation, is to have him or someone at the Traffic and Public Safety Committee, because that's what his intention is, was to always be there. And then he said he wanted to come to council too. I'm like, well, they assigned the Traffic and Public Safety Committee, so why do you have to do both? And he's like, no, I really need to stay. So he wants to stay in touch and with the council and keep communication and planning, because you're the body that would be the planning kind of a head group.
So
So
would our goal be to establish a regular schedule with the planning commission or with the public safety commission and with council? Maybe that's our goal.
I don't know if I don't know if there's a goal specific to what, we already kind of have that goal there. I think it's, at this point, it's just kind of holding them accountable to do what they need to be there. I don't think that's really a goal. I don't think we can really call that a goal. I think that's just, this has just become more of a discussion of what's issue. I think the goal is there, increase police service in advance of need. And then you had said something that was a good add-on to that.
was it increased communication?
The communication, yeah, that's a good one.
Increased communication with your police chief. He's our police chief. Yeah.
I know Melanie and
contract chief.
Sean will, remember this, but from my memory, I think we were having similar issues towards the end of our service with Sandy. To what we're hearing now from the community. We were hearing, very similar things towards the end of our service with Sandy Police. And I just don't want to get to that point again. I completely agree, communication, and then just the trust issues, getting that, figuring out a way to get our trust issues.
It's broader than most years because I've been here so long. I remember when Craig Roberts was the chief and we had a police officer in our council chamber every meeting.
It
Every meeting.
shouldn't be, and not to cut you off, but it shouldn't be difficult, because if you have law enforcement patrolling the area, if they're not on a call and Chief Mendoza can't be here, there's no reason why they can't just come in and hang out and report back to Chief Mendoza, or something comes up, then at least there's representation.
Sit back there
They're
and-
still on shift, they're still getting paid, like.
I mean, that,
don't think
then
it'd
we
be an
can even, we could delegate them as a sergeant at arms for the meeting.
Yeah, so maybe,
Unruly people.
maybe that, that goal we need to bring to council meeting and really discuss, or another workshop and really discuss what we expect from, from Clackamas County and try to come to a,
I actually had a more specific goal we can put with that. I spoke with Chief Mendoza about the issue with the trust and the law enforcement, because that's when I first heard that kind of it was a punch in the gut, because that's not what we want to represent here. That's things that are happening in like Portland and stuff. We don't want that. So one of the things we can put for an actual goal is to have a review of our ordinances where the law enforcement is struggling at, and seeing if we can either tighten or renew those ordinances to make it more efficient for them to do their job. A good example was when we redid and we fixed the ordinance for the towing of the vehicles. That made a job easier to do, so they can tow vehicles at whim now. So I think we need to identify the ordinances they're struggling with, and then rework the ordinances to make it easier to do their job.
So review and revise current.
Challenged ordinances.
And as Jerry said, this is kind of stepping outside the bounds of what the goal is. This is what we can do in council.
I think that's a goal, is to review and revise challenged ordinances. So not get into the weeds of it, I think that would be the goal.
One thing I've noticed is
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I think this is more specifically about the public safety portion of it. I could see where you're saying, I think minutes. I just hate for it to get lost into that when we're trying to focus on the very specific ones to. Yeah, I mean, I could see where it fits in that one. I'd say for it to get lost in that, that's all.
fair enough.
one thing I was noticing that's been on here multiple times that I think that can go into the public safety is the street lighting. Because lighting is, I think, yeah, it looks pretty nice, but it's definitely a public safety. The more lights, the more of a deterrent. So I think it's like sprinkled throughout a couple of these. And so I'm just trying to kind of, I would like to add it because I feel like it's just in a couple, like 3 different spots, and that way we can kind of, yeah.
It was in community assets. So,
I think there's a spot that, you know, in here where it's not a objective, it's a recommendation. This might be a good place to address street lighting.
yeah. And actually, yeah, move this to accessibility, also add investigating. code for
So, I don't
violation. There we go.
Mary's on there. One of the things we could also look at too was consider either granting the Public Safety Commission like a budget or something to focus on getting the equipment they would need to like put the speed signs that can start recording that data. They have speed signs. I've watched it, and I think he's been in part of the conversations. But you can put it in there and it starts recording the data of where the people are speeding on streets, and then it brings it back and allows them to use it to make more educated decisions. People always complain about Shafford or this or that. We can put stuff there.
No.
Gather.
The lighting we're talking about isn't that, it's the actual light.
Yeah,
Street
I
lights.
thought we'd finished. I was moving on to the next one. Sorry. Did I jump in early on that? I apologize. I thought we had agreed on that already. I'm sorry.
So sorry, so you were
Okay.
saying-
Let's put mine on hold. 'Cause I thought we'd already
No,
agreed on that.
I'm good. Okay. Nope. I
And
thought
wait,
you- I
wait,
thought you were adding
Just to
to-
clarify, you're not talking about lights to illuminate.
Yes. that's
You
what
are
I'm
talking
about.
lights to illuminate.
Like
Okay,
Illumination, yeah.
okay.
Like sidewalk lighting and stuff.
I think it's a public safety issue, not a,
Right,
and beautification, I guess.
Conduct street light
conduct
audit.
street light audit to determine areas in need of additional lighting.
Yeah, and I think the streetlights are actually done by PGE and we just pay them for it. Is that right? If it's not an actual like a beautification thing, right?
If there's a pole already.
And if there's a
Yeah.
pole there, we can have them put a light on it. We just need to.
And
Mhm,
then if you see ones that are out.
So,
mhm.
yeah, that's one thing too, is try to get them, because I remember like up on our street, this is one I have personal experience with. I've heard it's other problems. I think you've mentioned it too. But letting them know there's a street light out and it takes 6 months to come fix it. That's a little bit of an issue. So if we're depending on it for, it, we need them to actually take care of it for us. So,
Yeah, we don't use PDs, so our. Well, that now.
yeah, so maybe find some way to work with them to get them to be more responsive when if they're taking care of it for us. Even if that means that we have to, pay them extra or something, I don't know, something. Because 6 months of response is slow. I mean, I don't know if anyone else has had the same thing or
Well,
that's all I have to
read-
speak on is what I
Yeah,
said.
I've had a couple issues too, but I've called in and then they tell me we've replaced that light already and they've got the work order and maybe it was a bad light that was put in or they didn't have the
Mhm.
opportunity to test it. They just say, keep an eye on them, let us know.
So,
So
yeah,
there are methods to do it. But you were getting on to the speed complaints.
yeah. So are we ready to move into that one? Are we good with the lighting?
we-
'Cause I jumped ahead. I didn't want to make sure I did it twice.
And are we looking for just general goals? Are we looking to delve in and like dissect each subject and have a lot of, you just want a broad,
Well, it's easier if you've got a little bit more general broad goals, and then it's not that you can't share the specifics, but what I don't want to have happen is a bunch of specifics get up here, and then when you go to vote on them, you don't get the whole, like, something that is an overarching topic that could have these things as action items underneath it, that staff can be aware of and complete. That's great. But you are looking for a little bit higher level on these, not quite.
So the speeding thing, I think to make it a higher level would be to equip and empower the traffic and public safety committee to either gain more intel or take more action on the issues that they're addressing. So for example, that means that we say, hey, this year you get $50,000 to get speed sign things that take that information or whatever it might be. We give them that specifically for the purpose of.
They've got a goal in here that's under improved community
Yeah,
assets.
that's the research portion of it, but I think it's something where we can give them, it's the equip part is that they can research it, but that's information that they can find, but how do they research it? How do they gather that information? There's a lot
Maybe
of
with those
limited
signs.
tools. And so a way to equip them to gather that information. Yes,
So
they're not just fielding the complaints, so.
kind of our more technical teams. So we're making sure that when complaints or recommendations come up, that we're gonna make changes, we have those people with those kind of expertise helping us make those decisions. So I guess I'd be curious about that. And then when you're talking about empowering them to make, do you want to empower them to make, to spend funds without council knowing? I mean.
I think if we specify the need, like maybe the biggest point is they need to have a budget item for it, and that's what I'm trying to figure out.
All the committees have the ability to request funds in their budget. That's coming up. That's actually coming up pretty soon. They all have the ability to request funds in their budget. So if it's something that we want to explore, we want to direct them on, then we should that's something that we should talk about during a council meeting, give them the direction we want them to go, and then they can figure out what they need to budget for to do that. I don't think it necessarily needs to be a goal for the year. I think it's something that we make an agenda item. We discuss it, we set the direction we want them to go, our idea of where they want to go with it, and then they submit a budget for that.
Fair enough. I could see how that can work out. So.
Recently, they prioritized, because Public Works does have budget for streets and signage and such. And they use it to the best of our, you never know what a bid's gonna come in at for a project, but if there's some left over, then that helps. And then Dawn put together a list of certain intersections that are kind of the key intersections, and we had the traffic and public safety prioritize those, for which, as much as we can to work through those for pedestrian crossing signs. And then like a school flashing zone, and they put them in an order of priority.
So I do have not really off topic, but where did the speed sign that was at the top of the hill end up? Where did it go?
Where's it
They're
next?
being charged right now.
Oh, okay.
We take them down for a week, put them up for a week.
I just
Or
know,
stay up like 30 days.
I just noticed that like every time I go up the hill, there's that one light that just gets me right in the eye, if
Yeah,
I'm going
We
up.
can turn that flashing thing off, but it hits the people speeding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
I caught myself.
I only noticed it was missing because last night on my way home, it didn't hit me, so.
Yeah, we field the complaints and then we put them where we can.
What if we did this? Because I know that there's been a lot of concern about, for Road Chief Shafford, that's what I want to hear a lot about, people speeding on there. What if we make a goal that would be the city to be more responsive to community safety concerns, raise community safety concerns? And it's a more of a generic goal, and what that means can be specific to the issue, but a goal would be to try to be more responsive to those in a more rapid manner, rather than taking 6 months to put up a stop sign or something.
So my little attempt at being responsive is I do travel Stafford twice a day, pretty much. And when I'm on there, I go 15 miles.
Mhm.
Just one way I can contribute to slowing down speed is I can slow everybody behind me down.
I think I followed you a couple times.
I can slow.
That guy that's honking behind you a lot, that's.
So, I mean, that, it's just that, but I agree, we need to address this stuff quicker.
There are several grants out there. I get them all the time on my personal email for electronic signage, slow down, stuff that can be permanently implemented, not just these temporary ones that are putting up on occasion. Those are all great and fine to get a general, take on things, but there's a lot of stuff out there. And I don't know, Melanie, are you copied in on those same grant programs?
I think I get quite a few of them. Yeah.
So maybe the answer is, let's start applying for those specific grants, to deal with electronic signage and get more of that up. That would help our officers and everybody else deal with what's coming with the growth, and that would solve that. More so, that's how we visit it here and go over it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm including it in the budget. Now, when we know that that's a priority of the council in general, we can feel more comfortable putting things in the budget that, because it's always like if something goes here, then something comes away from over here. And if we know this is a priority, then it gives us a lot of confidence to go ahead and budget for that and prioritize it. So, yeah.
Did we have one thing on there? I'm sorry. Did we have something about the ADA accessibility? I know that's really kind of like a mix between the DEIC and traffic public safety. Yeah, let's take maybe try to review our ADA. Again, I think I brought it up so many times in the last couple of years. We have Broadway, we have both of our handicap spots on the exact same side of the road, and you have to go all the way into the block to go all the way over to come all the way back to the center if you have, there's no way to get across the mid block. So things like that is just an example. So yeah, I'm work to improve ADA accessibility and here. And it's crosswalks, things like that. I mean, like I said, it's big pieces on there, but maybe try to find a way to prioritize those.
I have a question too, before we move on with this one, just to share a pro and a con. On the paint, the sharrows were appropriate for the active transportation plan, and those are the little arrows with a bicycle that go in the lanes. And there are areas that those are identified in our traffic, our active transportation plan. The con to that is the maintenance of them. But the pro is it's encouraging people, like people might see that and say, hey, maybe I will try riding my bike downtown instead of driving a car. And so, but is that still really a priority for you? Because we have a lot of crosswalks to paint. We have, there's a lot of maintenance with things like that, and it has been hard to get the thermoplastic and paint. I'm sure that's going to change and it'll go back to normal.
I think we have higher priorities when it comes to safety than those. So I would,
Yeah.
There's, you can also
Pedestrians
put
are gonna-
signage instead of sharrows. The sign will last a lot longer than.
And we
2
have
years
that,
of thermoplastic.
we kind of have that on our wayfaring signage, we can just include it in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
make jobs by get some of the spinning arrows up there just to hold back time.
And still the primer for the thermoplastic is, I've been waiting a year. I have not been able to put thermoplastic down for a year now.
Yeah,
Just 'cause
the-
I can't get it.
The one at the top of the line at the top of Hayden is it's about 2/3 there still, and they
Yeah.
just did it. They just did it not too long ago, but if you go up there and you stop it at Springwater in Hayden, the line has like been eaten. A big chunk of it's eaten out of it, so.
Okay, so we'll go ahead. Yep. Perfect. Thank you for letting me ask about that. All right, anybody need a break? All right, quick break. All right,
I'll always accept.
okay.
Oh,
I need some-
It's. I don't think you got any of these.
Yeah. And do we only get the 6 stickers for the
For the new one.
whole?
I know.
Crazy though.
But that's what, 42 stickers going up there, so. Okay.
Well, we also keep the extra things we talked about, even if we don't vote on them, just keep a note of them so that if we want to bring them up later sometime in the future.
I mean, you could certainly, talk to them in a list, but in terms of what's gonna be the official goal list where, the funding staff has to be dedicated to and focus on, it's gonna be the ones that.
Yeah, if we could capture at least into like an agreed upon list. or
Yeah,
something.
like if we accomplish everything by March.
Yeah, I highly doubt that. I'm thinking of like for next year, we can bring them back up for next year or something.
There've been more than 6 on.
Yeah, if we keep conversating on March.
I
we
love
got-
your optimism. Thank you.
think it's gonna be an issue.
But you get 6 spots.
Oh,
I thought you said 42.
Well, there's 6 by, yeah, so you get 6, you get 6 stickers, so you get 6 votes. on the new
Understood.
one.
I got it.
Mhm.
So, of course, it's probably not likely that, each of you are gonna, you're only gonna pick one, or each one's only gonna get 1 sticker, and then we end up with 42. Like,
I got you.
yeah, you're probably gonna, what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab the ones that get the most votes, those are the ones that are going first. Okay, so now we're on improved community access, so we've got our existing list steps and new ideas here.
Okay. Other than, I mean, I could read down them, but they're in your notebook. It's goal 4, improve community assets. So that, yeah. Other recommendations, in addition to these ones that were on here, were potentially to add in completing phase 1 and 2 of engineering for design of the wastewater treatment plant. That's a big project this year. I'm sure you want to identify in some manner. We could conduct a rate study for water, wastewater, and stormwater. That's something we're going to do anyway, so I don't know if we need to make it a goal, but it'll be information that's coming back to you. So that you'll have a good understanding of our rates and where they need to go. Complete the connection of emergency power system at the water plant. That's in progress. So it's something that's going to happen, but it's improving the capability of our wastewater plant. Gosh, there's a lot of, I'm reading down these, and these are like, they're kind of detailed. They're more details than overarching goals, but complete construction of the dewatering building and installation of the dewatering screw press, develop a new solids handling plan. These are kind of, I guess these are staff goals. These are things that staff is going to be doing. Oh, and then there's determine the location for the splash pad and how best to design and construct it. So that, I mean, that might be something that.
The new one or the one we've already got?
The one we've talked about, just to figure out how to make it happen.
That seems like that should be on there.
Yeah, yeah, that should be a big one. That's
Splash
kind of
pad.
Promised already to the community. Let's get that done. Top of the list.
Can we rip our dots in half? Our
Well, if we, honestly, if we don't have more than 6 on each one, we just, everybody put a dot on a goal and just have them all.
There's 42 new things you gotta do this year.
So he's like, no.
Okay. I didn't press it off if it's on one of the already.
Well, then we should probably take it off the new one.
You think, because that one was
I
safe.
think it should move
on
it
the new
into,
I think it should be on this one.
I'd say
Well,
put it
if-
into the public safety side.
But if we put it on the new, it could get overlooked.
Can we,
Oh, it's already in here. We don't have. to put a
yeah,
dot
can we
on
make
it.
a note to move that into the other one later, just for organization
Yeah,
purposes?
yeah, in
Oh, it was
parentheses.
just-
Yeah, take it off there. Yeah.
Yeah, so just,
So it would be new, it would just be-
yeah, just moving,
Reassign.
just
Yeah.
reclassifying it.
Yes. Move to safety.
Okay. Okay.
So Melanie, you were saying some of these are staff goals already.
Yeah, as I was reading that, yes, things that are going to happen already.
Well, I think that developing the new solids handling plan, that became quite a big issue this last year, I believe, so.
I think that's just a compliance, not a compliance, but a, we can keep operating thing.
Yeah, that was a pretty big deal this year, wasn't it?
Yeah. We haven't received the equipment yet, so that's my goal, is to have that in place by the time I get the equipment.
You know what the
Start
EPA
operating.
on is?
Well,
what's
yeah, I
the
guess
EPA?
it's already in,
It's in.
it's already in the
process.
works.
How much longer till I get to, do you know?
A lot of it you already supposed to be in March, April.
That is true. So those are things the staff is going to be doing in the upcoming year. I think it would be good to identify, was there one on there about the wastewater treatment plant? Mhm.
The water treatment plant is the wastewater treatment plant. It says water treatment plant, but that's. the-
No, that
No.
was water. It was pre-planning for increased.
Oh,
Yeah.
increased water, okay.
Yeah, I think we should, maybe you want to add and see if it gets any dots, but something about the wastewater treatment plant.
That's, I don't think that's really a dot thing. That's in process. And
It
if we
is
don't
in
do that, we're gonna
process.
be in,
So does it have to be a goal?
we'd be
Okay.
wasting our dots on that one.
This is true.
We started that a year and a half ago.
True. How about promote that we have up there, promote inclusion of neighborhood parks and new developments. Where did the code part come in, Taylor?
Well, I
You
was
got
gonna
that
ask a
recommendation.
question.
That in good governance, sorry.
Uh, I was just gonna ask, the tree thing that we talked about, is that something that we are actually in the process of putting into our ordinances or changes, or is that something we need to put on our goals? That's requiring the trees to be on each property for new houses built, that thing.
We did add that to the list of code updates. And we brought that list to the planning commission at their meeting on Thursday. And they will be sending in their each of them will send us their top 5 priorities from that list. And then we were hoping that you all would at some point soon get to do that also. And so that's something that the council could prioritize, or you could pull that off of that list and make it an explicit objective under a goal, however you want to do it. But it is something that we're starting to look at. Yeah.
And then we've got scheduled already a joint session with the planning commission
Yep.
to go through the prioritized,
Yes. Yep.
or to prioritize that list then too. So it's on there.
Yeah, I'm not hanging out with you.
Okay.
Sunburn on the back of his neck.
So there are 2 places that have improved landscape along Highway 224. That's under promote community development, and it's also maybe a recommendation for improved community assets. But on one of them, it was like, does this need to be a goal? That was a recommendation that was questioned by staff.
Well, it's already a goal in place on the
Yeah.
support community vitality.
Is that something we need in 2 different sections? So then would we just say that that's more of a improved community assets instead of? Yeah, or is that more of a vitality? Because it's in 2 sections.
Because it goes close to tourism and how we present
Yeah.
ourselves.
Is it a new understanding?
Yeah. I'm just trying to consolidate for y'all, so you're not
Yeah,
like, oh, I'm doing this again.
It's
not-
not, it was in our
note on
recommendation.
It's in the
It's a
recommendation under, yeah,
Okay, so it's technically kind of there.
it's, yeah,
Yeah, that was, the staff was like, this might be more of a community asset than, you know.
got.
Mhm.
So we could put on the support community vitality, that last existing one, improve landscape along 224, just in parentheses, move to improve community asset.
Mhm.
That way we don't have to add it as a new one.
Right.
One less one to vote on.
Yeah.
Right.
Where are we, sorry. Where are we at with the lakeshore waterfront stuff? I know that hasn't been a ton on that. If that's something that is a feasibility to move on this year, or is it something that's just taking up a slot?
They're gonna complete so I don't remember exactly when, but recently they completed the 60% design for that project. And we got a grant from the Marine Board to have them go full 100%. But it won't get built until the city has funding to, money to fund the project. So that's something that we'll be needing to look for grant opportunities and other funding mechanisms to actually get that project built once we've got the 100% design.
100% design will be done in June. That's when the grant requires it, so it'll be done no later than June 30th.
So we'll have a design, but we probably won't be able to move anything beyond that for. at
We
least
do
some-
have some of the permits that we're gonna require because, it's in water, so we're maintaining those every year.
Is that an ongoing cost? Bill?
Yeah,
Or-
it's an ongoing cost. It's not a big cost. Do you remember what it is, Melanie? It's like $150 or something like that. It's
Oh,
not,
that's,
it's not a significant cost, but it's something that we don't want to have to reapply and send everything in. It's easier for us to just maintain it.
Do you want to leave that on there for this year? Continue to seek funding for the Lakeshore
absolutely.
waterfront, or do
Yeah.
you want to, okay.
yeah, I mean, I think that's a small thing. I don't know if we even need to make that a vote thing. I think it's just an ongoing project that exists.
Okay, it's up
So,
there already.
Yeah.
And then promote inclusion of neighborhood parks and new developments. That's the first thing. And we kind of had a recommendation on there to change that a little bit and say prioritize code amendment for park requirements and new developments. But Taylor, is that already on the list?
It is on the list, but yeah, once again, if you know that you want to prioritize that from that list of needed code changes, then it might be wise to pull it out and make it a an explicit objective here in the goals rather than just
Leave it in there.
having the goal that's under the good governance. That's like,
Okay.
work on the list of code amendments, right?
So
And
can
the-
we, should we still keep it
I think
phrased
we're-
like that or
Well,
rephrase it?
honestly, anybody here gonna vote outside of the splash pad, or we just save ourselves the time and say that the splash pad is gonna be the top one? Because, I mean, that's kind of a top priority. I know it's been for a lot of us.
It should not be.
And there's a lot of
It
things on the
should
list
not be.
already.
It shouldn't be in new, it should be in existing. Because we've been working on it for 8, 9 years.
So you want to grandfather it in, you don't want to waste a dollar.
Is that fair?
We can do that.
Yeah, so that splash pad is it's on the old list.
And so are we talking about the same? We're talking about two different goal objectives here, right? There's the splash pad objective and then there's the require parks to be
Yeah.
either provided or funding go, money towards our park fund,
Yeah.
if not provided. So those would be two separate objectives. in the
Correct.
goal. Okay.
Another
I
one-
can't think of anything new to add to that right now.
Another one up there, did we move the last one? Research and implement methods for resolving traffic speed complaints in neighborhoods. Is that?
Yeah, we already have that.
Okay, so we don't necessarily need it. Take that off of there and leave the other one.
We face the risk of losing that.
I
This is a
think, didn't we
tricky way
just,
to
I think leave it where it's at. I
do
mean,
it. Okay,
What about would acquiring the parking lot be part of this? Trying to acquire the property for the parking lot for additional parking in downtown?
wasn't that part of like the Main Street project that kind of got wrapped into that?
Potentially.
yeah, we're kind of doing that with the Main Street.
Okay.
Kurt's gonna bring a kind of a layout, overlay of what that might look like on that lot to your next meeting.
Okay,
Um,
so nothing new.
don't think of anything yet.
no.
Still want to say that was a
Fair.
genius idea.
Yeah.
It was-
We have on there
Genius.
grind and pave one road each year because Don has been doing a great job of improving, keeping up on maintenance. Can we change that maybe to provide annual maintenance of the road system, or do you like identify one road, specificity of that, identify one road each year?
And Don had an explanation for why it might be good to have, wasn't there a reason why it might be beneficial to have more flexibility in that goal? Like
Yeah,
sometimes,
I think this upcoming year, I'm not really gonna do a road as much as crack seal the city. It needs it bad. See all the cracks out there, the potholes coming up. Crack sealing's the first step in it. I might have enough money to hit a road on Lakeshore. There's a couple nasty roads on Lakeshore. But I think having it not be just grind and pave a road as much as kind of the whole overarching of the road system.
If,
Mhm.
As a council goal as opposed to, yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think actually I agree with them, but I want to add the word sidewalks in there too, because I think sidewalks need maintenance as well.
We already have that.
That's on there.
Is it on there somewhere?
Yes.
I was just talking about the maintenance of it.
So we're thinking we can remove that one as a council goal. It's still a city goal. Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Then
I'm
anytime
fine.
we do grind and pave a road, we have to go through and redo ADA ramps. So like Edge Hill and Bunyard, we had to redo all the ADA ramps. That's just part of Kurt explained it well. We have to legally do it.
I'm good with removing that one.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, anyways, so.
can I also just confirm for the parks, including neighborhood parks in the new developments, was the recommended wording change? Do I understand correct that the council wants there to be an actual requirement for residential developments to include parks?
I think so.
Or probably once
Probably.
that,
yes.
Yes.
Probably
okay,
definitely,
pending
yes.
research and stuff, okay.
I will want to clarify that the state has very specific guidelines of what a neighborhood park fulfills. And so do we want to keep it as neighborhood park? Because if we're, looking at grant writing and stuff, the neighborhood park has to do with specific acreage and things like that. If we're looking at state funding. So I'm just clarifying the language there. Mm.
The current, the recommend,
Yeah.
the recommendation is currently worded, prioritize code amendment for, is this the same?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Prioritize code amendment for park requirements in new developments. So that's,
Yeah, take out neighborhood.
Yeah.
and
we
that
can-
also,
Mhm.
right, so it takes out neighborhood and it also,
Instead of promote inclusion, it says prioritize code amendment. That or.
Okay.
Top
yes,
one.
prioritize code amendment for park requirements
The
in
very
new
top one.
developments.
Take out the word neighborhood, I think is what it is, right?
Mhm. For park requirements in new developments. And that's good because it allows the flexibility too, if a developer doesn't want to put in a park or the city council thinks actually, for whatever reason, that site isn't really appropriate for a park, the developer can then contribute funds or do something else in lieu of providing that park area that still supports the city's need for parks.
Yes, green space, not so much. That's all it happened with that.
It's a collective groan from the
Like,
council.
Tricky word.
She's like, what?
Yeah.
What did I say?
That third one down is identify and obtain property for high-level water reservoir, which we have identified it. This past week, negotiations were begun to see if we can obtain it. That'll be coming to you as a council shortly. So should we modify that to construct a high-level reservoir, or do you want that on your goals? Because we're at the point, they're doing phase 1 of the water line. Phase 2 is the rest of the water line and up to our high-level reservoir.
Will that be completing it this year if we're saying that we can do it?
Should be completed this. It's not gonna be.
He's not chasing. No.
You don't think it'll be completed this year?
I think jump from like the start to finish to build the reservoir, it's like 8 months or 6 to 8 months. So if you think about the water lines going in right now, that's not gonna be done till January, March. April 4th is their walkout date. And no, it won't, not in here.
Is
So
this
maybe
I would
complete
say
next
closer to-
phase. Be a good way
Yeah,
to
if
put
they
it.
started building the reservoir right now, then yes. Yeah, next fiscal year would be the best.
So we can just take it off it's in process, so we can just take it off.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't need to be a
Walk,
council
digging road up right now.
Maybe complete next phase or something.
Or remove.
Yeah,
Or
so we
just
can
move it all
remove the
together?
high-level water reservoir goal because it's in
Okay.
process.
Goal is getting it initiated.
Okay. Okay.
We haven't
anything
added
new?
this one very much, but we sure have taken stuff away.
Uh-huh. Any other community assets?
What about the SDCs we talked about for including the water treatment plant portion of it?
Yes, Kurt said those should happen now, so that will begin happening now.
Do we need to make that a goal to do that, or is that just
No.
gonna happen?
It's just gonna happen. I mean,
Okay.
it's, Stop it. It's just gonna happen. And Sadie, do you want to say anything else? It's just something that you and Kurt will initiate, right? Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Would
Okay.
this be a good spot to do like a, analyze city properties to see if there's a way that property could be used to better the community, like in consideration with a certain hillside that I hate, that I want to put a switchback walking trail on?
I think our
Certain
TSP
wasted-
consultants would like
A
to hear
certain
about that.
wasted hillside?
That would be the hillside that goes up from the Veterans Memorial up to
Wade,
Wade Street. That is gonna haunt me for the rest of my life.
I know.
See, isn't that part of like, if I remember right, when I was talking to them, that they lease, don't they, from the very top, that's part of their lease, so. When they release that property from the city for, was like about $1.
Wouldn't it be nice if people that lived up in that area had walking access that wasn't?
I know that, I know that they're totally on board for getting something done with that. I'm saying, I think that's the least piece we had in there, so.
I know that's a big, maintenance project, keeping it clean and clearing it and everything, but, You know, just like I said, just take that out, take that specific project out. But just analyze, you know, maybe review and analyze the existing properties that the city owns. And just look and see if there's a way we can improve that to help help the community in some way. Even if we put that, even if we put that towards Parks and Rec, you know, once we saw the properties. And then we put that, we put that to Parks and Rec to, see if there's any way that those properties can be used. Just something, I think that should be our goal, to look at what we own and see if there's a better way to use it.
That be like evaluate existing city properties to evaluate. Yeah, something like that. Evaluate current
Yeah.
city assets for future best use.
Would this
Wow, way to
include
go.
City Hall? Because we're kind of outgrowing.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I heard a rumor you guys need more space.
You got that hole upstairs.
I think we'd have to put in an elevator to make it usable for. Legally, you know. Exterior? Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's interesting. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Okay, interesting.
I don't know if this is a goal or how we put this in here, but I'm really kind of curious about the mill property. If we've talked to them and figured out what the options are with that, 'cause that's a huge piece of property right in the middle of our city that just sits there. And there's always questions about what's gonna happen with that, if can't have anything with it. Can the city help facilitate something happening with that or what? I mean, is it even usable because of potential ground contamination or what?
It's
No.
It's not city owned, it's,
but
I-
or I think
it kind of made me think about that a little bit.
I would put that, if we're gonna put it back on, under the community vitality, because it's kind of an economic development. It'd be a brownfield site. So. Just saying, if we're gonna categorize that.
I
that's
don't know
where
if you
would
even
put
need to make that a goal or not. I'm just, it can, is there something even to put a goal with that or not? I don't know. I mean, it is a big thing. Yeah, I just.
Yeah.
It's a big piece of property right in the middle of the city that people
I know Matt
wonder.
was in talks with the owner of the property at one point. Has there been any movement since that?
No.
Maybe
And it's primarily because the property owner, in order for anything to get done with that property, it needs a phase 2 environmental assessment. It's already gotten the phase 1, which is 300 some pages of not telling you that much about what's in the soil. And so in order for anything to get developed there, both for to meet state requirements and to meet our own code requirements, a phase 2 assessment would need to be done. And RSG, the owner, doesn't want to do it. And they also aren't really, don't seem that interested in selling it.
I think I remember something about, he's not gonna allow anybody to do that until they have a qualifying offer on the table or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're
So,
worried about what might show up and sale falling through. And
yeah.
yeah.
Can we at least make an attempt to reach out and kind of see if there's anything movement on that? So it's just a large piece of property, this 150 acres in the middle of our city.
Yeah.
I would say it probably isn't a goal item. I think it's at least putting on the back to-do list is ask a question about it.
Yeah. I'll just follow up on that. Yeah.
Anything else to this one?
That has crossed my mind recently about what if the city bought part of that.
And that would be something I think that at some point in the next few years, maybe not this year, but looking at revisiting and updating our economic development, chapter, our policies and strategies around economic development, that, looking at like resources and assistance for like brownfield site development and recruitment of, potential buyers and developers of that site would maybe be part of that active plan update. Have to look into.
Now,
We changed that, develop a plan for ordinance / code review. It should have just been code. I don't know why I put ordinance in there. And, oops, I'm on the wrong page. Is that okay to
Oh, yeah,
to make
fine.
that change?
Yeah.
And then how would we phrase that? Because their staff has collected a list of code concerns that could be prioritized, and there's a report in here about that. Oh, here, prioritize code updates that need to be adopted. I don't know, how do you want to say that, or if you want to?
If we leave it as it is, then it's on there. I mean, we,
Okay.
Yeah, and how to present them to us would be like,
We've,
Got a list. Yeah, go ahead. Taylor.
we've not, I don't know that I would say we've necessarily done a review. We've kind of been keeping this running list over the past few years of issues that have come up just in our work situationally. But probably a little bit more thorough of a review would be warranted. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we put that at the transient lodging tax portion.
Strategy, there was one of those here about establishing the and the,
Yeah, that one's redundant.
there's a couple of things in here on here, but one of the things I think would go into this one is new tablets for the council would probably fall into this section. So I know it's a conversation that's been started,
Oh,
but
new devices for. okay.
yeah, new devices. That's a,
Is that a
I've already had to restart this particular file twice.
I think mine's died.
I think we're already just planning on putting that in the next budget. Yeah, that's like
So-
going to be done.
Do we need to make that as a goal or anything, or is that just,
it could
It's
take
an-
away from one of our other ones.
okay, cool. Huh?
This is redundant.
She's just doing, I'm okay with it. We need them. The HB 3115 develop code to address time, place, manner for camping. I think that's kind of fall under our ordinance. It's not knowing what that is. There's not as much work there. I think it can fall under our develop ordinance.
Or it could
renewals.
be could be explore. Solution, not solutions, explore something for.
There's not a lot that has to be done with that because if you look what it is, I've read through that code and I've been through a million conversations already about this. As long as we're in compliance with the identified first line in that 315, as long as we have our ordinance match that, which is you get to identify a place for them to go, give them 24-hour notice before moving their items and store for 30 days. That's the summary of it. As long as our ordinance identifies that, we're in compliance with it. And of course, Peter's our lawyer. He can identify that piece of it, but I've talked to him too, and he's in agreement with me. But there's not a lot to do that. That's what I'm saying. We think we can fit that under the develop a plan for ordinance. We can have it part of that without it being a major issue. Not have to add a whole new item. Yeah, I'm just saying it's on the list here. I'm just. So.
The one on here that I would like to add is, again, because in 2 years, the face of this council could change drastically. I would like to get it done before that 2 years, before the next 2 years, is to explore recommendations for psilocybin code following the 2-year moratorium. We have 2 years. And after that moratorium is up, if we don't have something in place, again, we're going to have, there's a possibility we have 4 new faces up here that we're going to have to go through all the learning process and everything again. I would like to see this goal be met while this current council is in place.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I was gonna read that too, so.
So. How do we say that? I just wrote it here, explore recommendations for psilocybin code following the 2-year.
I would say develop.
Yeah, I think I develop the code around it.
So explore recommendations and develop code. What did you say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
develop
just
code.
develop
Develop,
code.
okay, sorry, develop code.
For psilocybin.
Yeah, okay, PSILOCYBIN. And I hope I got those letters in the right order. Psilocybin
code.
develop code for psilocybin their centers, right? Or.
I think
we
the
should-
psilocybin is gonna be
code.
close enough, yeah.
Yeah.
code.
Well, no.
You've got on here upgrades to public workshop or works shop and expanding city hall offices. And then we also put down the evaluate current assets for future best use. Alex, you'd mentioned possibly a facilities master plan.
Yeah. So that could be. Just kind of not only to look at the properties you have, but the buildings, are they meeting your needs? Do you need bigger buildings? And then at least that way, you know, if you're going in the future and asking for a bond or something to build a city hall or whatever it is you're doing, you're justifying what you're doing.
So with all that we've got going on as far as transportation master plan, all of those master plans that are in the works, how long does would a facilities master plan and what kind of effort does that, you know, typically take? Is it going to, if we initiate that this year, is it going to take away from everything else that we got going on? Or is this something that we could, you know, that we could put off till next year? You know, and-
Or hire someone to do, like we have all the other ones done, that might be less work for
Yeah.
them.
But, yeah. I don't know what goes into a facilities master plan, so.
I don't actually.
I would expect you to hire. I mean, I think there'd be some kind of program hire, maybe not that, you know, to help you out. It would be, it'd still be time intensive with staff as with any master plan, you know, is, let me just like, plate,
So,
You could put it on there to look into it, you could talk with people and see if you had to find with everything in the city to see what kind of level of effort it might take. I mean, you could research it and that could be your goal, and you could implement it later.
Yeah, I think the question would be too is, you know, we know it needs to happen soon or than later, but what do we have in the next couple of goals, a couple of years? If by putting it off this year, is it gonna be flooded by other things next couple of years? Cause we have like, next year, we're gonna be building the wastewater
And
treatment
again,
plant.
there's a lot of goals that we don't complete in the year
Yeah,
that we
so,
have anyway, so.
yeah, so that, I guess that's the question too is,
But if we do something like evaluate the appropriateness or the ability to develop a facilities master plan, if we have that as our goal, you know, that's a much, seems like it would be smaller, assuming, yeah, more manageable. And then we would have that going into next year.
it does set it for next year, yeah, okay.
That's a great idea, yeah. Or would it be still included in the?
I guess is it different? Is it?
I think to
Probably.
develop a facilities master plan is a good way to wrap three in one.
Which section should we put it in? Governance
Or
or
do you want it to be?
community?
I think it's I think it's
Yeah.
a governance document, not an assets document, honestly, but that's just me.
I was thinking it would line up with assets, but
I'm good either way. I
Either
don't-
way.
it doesn't
Well,
matter to
there
We
me.
you
could scratch that bottom one that's down there now and change it to the evaluate the facilities master plan, yeah. That one there.
That's a great idea, because I just, by the time I was at the bottom of this list, we were kind of just throwing out things, and it was like, just get everything down on there, and some of them are kind of way out there, but not so far way out there, I suppose. So this is a great little, I think that pulls the public workshop. and
This
the
one that says,
Hillside and the.
this one that says continue to improve technology, including security. I think that should just be something that we do.
An ongoing.
Yep.
That should just be ongoing.
The website though is something that I think that's gonna take a chunk that you were talking about doing. And it, you know, besides the budget piece, that's gonna take some time to work on that. How did it take to get the first one done? Was that I think we want to put more effort
I
into this
think
time because we don't want to redo it again.
Well, the one we have now when was that? Several years ago. I can't remember when it was. But what happened was 1 year ago, they said we could upgrade to the newest system. And that was what started causing our troubles. And so this particular version of this website has been very time and labor intensive, not a labor of love.
People are not happy
It
happy
is.
with it.
Yeah. So I think it's what, three 3 or 4 months to put.
Yeah,
together. Is that-
so,
is that right?
so, yeah, we just got several quotes from different companies and it's looking like 9 to 12 weeks to develop the site and from start of the project where they come in and they look at our site and talk to us about, how we'd like the layout, colors, blah, 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 all the way to having the site go live. So that project is looking anywhere 9 to 12 weeks.
Can we make, I want to make one recommendation on that one. Since the site is for the public, can we have them come in and share what they would like to see on it? So that way it's focused on them a little bit.
So one of the things that they offer is like a heat mapping. So it looks at where people are currently looking on our site and the search terms they're looking for and gives us very much data-driven results on what we should update the new site with.
I still
Is
think we
this a
should-
parking lot item? I know we're
Yeah,
digging
I
into
get
weeds and we
that.
got, we're running low
Yeah.
on time.
We could do, so public outreach, we could do, throw a survey out there. What do people want to see on it?
Yeah, I think
What
that's
kind of
important at
services do
least.
they access? Kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
let's do
part-
that. Public input on website.
Yeah. But just for them, we should at least be asking them,
Okay.
administration.
Anything else? Think we're missing anything?
It says continue to update the comprehensive plan over the next 5 to 10 years. That's just kind of like an ongoing thing. I don't think we really need to identify that. Anything you guys didn't put on here that you guys,
Is there anything in the upgrades to the public works shop, new shop in the future? Is there anything that is gonna be, any upgrades that are gonna be necessary within the next, before the new shop is built? Anything that we should this be a goal for us or?
I just want to put, the inside needs redone. And we want to put covered parking for all of our trailers,
In the new shop or the current?
current one.
So it's potentially feasible that in the next several years, the public workshop would move out of there if there was a desire by any kind of a developer to want to develop that riverfront area. But as of right now, that's not, that hasn't
Well-
become apparent that anybody's ready to do that. So to do minimal upgrades to the shop now versus starting all over and doing a big project while we're already doing the wastewater project would be, it'd be preferable to wait to get it. It definitely needs improvement as far as surfaces and a variety of things inside the shop. I think it needs a new roof, right? But
Roof, there's mold inside from the roof leaking.
well, that's not good.
Just a lot of stuff it's just nasty.
Um,
And we want to put covered parking because we have all of our trailers, everything just chilling outside rotting.
And a place for the library van.
Is this something, I mean, is this something that where we could word this as part of the commitment between council and staff to foster a strong partnership? Something we can put up there, towards, is there, I don't know how, I wouldn't know how to word it.
providing a good work environment.
Well, that should,
uh,
that should be a given.
Well,
you know.
question for you. I know it's a little ways out, but we talked originally about trying to put the water treatment plant and the public workshop. I don't know how far that out is. I know it's a little ways, but is that something we can doable and build them a whole new one out there?
For us to move 7 miles out of town would not be good.
3 miles.
Our response time to anything would be bad. Getting equipment there is bad. We rode our backhoe. So to get to any job, we take it from the shop, drive the backhoe up the highway. And that's how we start our job. And for us to be 7 miles out of town, we're gonna have to trailer everything and it's just, I don't think it's feasible for us to move that far out. We wouldn't have presence.
Gotcha. Okay.
I know it's a given that we've, given all the support that, all the support we can. I just don't know if that's something we can word in our commitment between council and staff, or if we just say that that's what we're gonna do, we're committed to supporting and,
I'm worried about the mold you just mentioned. That worries me. That's-
We're starting to live with it.
that's when it gets bad.
We're gonna start seeing our public works start freaking out.
That would us coming through. So I think.
Yeah.
It's a science experiment.
Some more.
It's not good.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Where can we put them?
Put them up in the chairs that they're leaning
We
on.
can
Would
set
that
'em up
work?
there. And I'll hand out some of these stickers. And does anybody have any staff questions and they need to find a few with them? We don't want to all try to exit the building at the same time. That could be.
Can I talk to them about something?
Yeah, we got,
Thank you.
The highway plannings, what is your guys like, what are you envisioning on the highway? Like for the landscape,
For the center.
for the center mostly,
Well, obviously, look at the low lines that I want to.
so I was thinking, and just spitballing, a safer option is concrete in the middle with trees, with tree wells. Stamp concrete in between the trees to keep our guys out of the highway. Cause when we gotta pull the weeds and we have no water out there. To where we can get water to the sides, I was thinking of having them landscape the sides of the highway. Make it look awesome and do trees all the way along the centers with stamped concrete in between the trees. And uplighting,
Oh, the lighting would be nice.
just to keep those roses don't. It's not gonna work out in the middle of the highway. The roses that are out there now are, yeah. those-
I didn't know that either.
They were roses.
Yeah, the garbage collecting and, I mean, you look at the Sunrise Expressway, they completely mowed that entire thing down just because they're probably the same situation. We have no water there, it just dies. There's no, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was looking for your guys' input.
But I've seen some cities do some pretty interesting things with like rocks and
So
stuff.
we
that
were
looks
thinking
pretty
rocks
cool.
too.
Like not like small rocks, like like Sandy just redid their big area right across from their city hall. They used, there's a sculpture in the waterfall. We'll skip that piece of it. And they did some cool things with picking out some really cool rocks and kind of laying them out there and stuff. They look kind of nice and there's no maintenance with it. I mean, might be something, it might not look good when it sounds good in discussion, but when if you start drawing something up, it might look really stupid, but I mean.
I think it looked good with the row of trees right down the center with the lights going up. And then all the fancy bushes along the sides.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot safer to work
Yeah.
on anyways,
General.
a lot more cost effective.
Yeah.
Oh, we are a lumber town. Just put some tree stumps.
No, we would
No, we
prefer
gotta
that.
carve them.
Sweeper would love it.
Tree stump with an axe sticking out of it.
Okay.
Good. Yep.
All right, you have your dots. Use them wisely.
If I put a 2 in here, does it count twice?
No.
Worth a shot.
Good try, though, good try. I've been on a lot of funny days this year. but- Yeah. Oh, it's gonna take really long. I'll just wind down for about 15 minutes longer. Before I go home, it's big stuff, so people like, it's my dad's birthday. And they're eating at 3:30. So they were gonna get there, so bringing them is a little bit of it. It's okay. It's been too much going on. Maybe like up with maybe not over.
Just the top.
Yeah, and to leave open the arch, but just have so blinding.
I just didn't see if you had something needed.
Because you could walk up to it literally, and you could go like that and it'd go.
That was scary.
That's scary.
I mean, it's really.
Oh, the working, all right. Yeah, I'm totally fine.
Okay.
Except for Mara. So, right?
Yeah.
I can stop them. So you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all good. And then we'll see you guys tomorrow. See you tomorrow.
I just in case.
They were gonna do, their liaisons, but Sean was gonna do that. at a council meeting.
Deciding which.
Yeah, unless if the person is happy where they're at, we'll just let it ride. Maybe wants to make a change if they're on it. Just do that. That's this part. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, now I want to.
So before you were the city manager.
Yes, then I kind of
did that.
Okay. What was your middle?
I'm gonna avoid this.
Just listening to all the feedback. Maybe. Get it. I think I've got to know that I also have to. I don't know, it's just a different.
I know, we haven't had quite as many, well, I'm not doing the EIC anymore.
Two meetings a month, I got.
Right, yeah, and we've.
We did it last year. I'm not
Why
sure where
this
it was.
this application.
I've been so good at also this too.
I forgot. I said it. Wait, it's really important.
Very well, Brian, for you, which you were very good. I know, so we were gonna do. Our daughters do like a favorite one.
Yeah.
And her daughters were gonna help us plan it and she never stayed home. We had like 3, 4, 5 different weekends trying to plan this retirement party. And she like, no, Sean, I'm not making. Like, we got this one and then at the last minute, she bought Mariner tickets and she was going to Seattle that weekend. Like, so we never got a retirement party for her. But, oh, well.
Being the phase of gathering input on like existing conditions and issues and like turning.
All right, so we need to circle in on the most.
So yeah, I don't remember. How many we have with them in the scope, but it's about time, yeah. Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah.
We have a meeting Wednesday, right? No, Wednesday is Monday.
Monday next week.
Yes.
Not
This
not this
Wednesday
coming up week,
My
the
brain
week
wasn't-
after.
my brain wasn't-
Okay, I was like, what do you mean? Okay, okay.
This Wednesday. I got
Yeah, yeah, we do not have a meeting tomorrow. We have a meeting a week after. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, right. Thank you. For a second, you gave me a heart attack. Thank you.
And what's
Traffic and
Oh,
public safety
infrastructure.
and infrastructure.
I do schedule the infrastructure.
How many committees are there all?
It's on our thing here.
We have what?
9.
I always forget the library.
I forget the budget committee
9
because
is
they're sort of,
budget. Yeah, 9 including
Oh.
budget.
they're not,
Okay,
they're
so 1,
different.
2, 3, 4,
and
5,
others
6,
are
7, 8.
Yep.
But we still, I'm on that.
If
Well, is
the-
fire on here? Fire's.
Oh, that's right.
They're
Heidi
different.
needs one.
But we,
Heidi needs one.
if we're asking how many people report to the.
Oh,
For the
is there?
applicants.
Well.
It's.
Yep, school and fire.
Right.
Oh, yeah, council.
I don't know who does what. I forgot that Heidi would want to get the. liaison.
Oh, good. It's so good. I love. Great.
I do have to.
Already tried that one.
I think we're gonna put it on the agenda for the next meeting. And then the mayor can. appoint if nobody wants. Yeah. Or if we want.
I think Jerry needs a third. You get the good seat, you get 3 committees, all
I
right?
had 3 last year.
Last year was rough. It was like I had a meeting every single, like, at least once a week. You know?
They say you're doing such a good job. though. I figured,
That's how they get you. Like, since you're doing such a great job, Want to make sure that you.
how last year I had three, not 22, but 21, I had three committees.
Committees. yeah.
Mine changed from evenings to like mornings on Mondays. I couldn't do it anymore. I always have meetings on Monday mornings. They changed mine from the DEIC which I can do anytime on Monday, as long as it doesn't interfere with council. From noon to now we're at 4 o'clock. It'd be interesting to see if they interfere with council though. Because it'd be interesting to see how they interfere with council, because if they do it here. No, I mean, if they changed it to a time. You know what I mean? I couldn't do it. Can't do it if it's on. I was giving you a hard time. Need to find one that, that's not in the morning or during the day, because meetings, they take precedence at work. I get no choice. Yeah. Evenings are much more flexible.
Tomorrow we are meeting over performance.
Do we need to be, are we recording?
Oh, yeah, wait, let's wait tonight, sorry.
You want to go watch the game? I think we'll be done just about the time the game's over.
Isn't there another one starting at 3:30 though?
The one that I want to watch,
The one
yeah.
that Jerry wants
The one
to
that
watch?
Paul and I are waiting for.
Oh, okay.
We don't want to be in the same room.
We lose Jerry and Paul's in about 5 minutes, guys. We'll be on the phone at that point. Get me wrong, guys, I'm not trying to be cool.
Oh.
That thing's giving me.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
And you are right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready? Okay.
Okay. So those documents that Justice Page is listing will be your new list, will be compiled by Melanie, and she'll bring it to a upcoming council meeting for formal adoption. Make sure that you feel good with what's been captured. As promised, we'll go ahead and document everything, and this will be a record of everything that was talked about and discussed. But then that is what will make it.
Can we, I mean, since it is, it is, some of them were marked and we're not really adding that many. Can we at least add the one that's got the 2 marks to the goals, the assess urban renewal? Because I think that's really important and something that we need to.
Yeah, I can agree.
Like I said, and I would like that to be addressed with the current council, because it's gonna be a nightmare just trying to, with the possibility of 4 new faces. It would be a nightmare to try to go through all of that with people that,
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Right, and then not to say that the rest of the things are gonna drop off the table, they just won't be noted in your official goals, but we'll keep track of those. And like, for instance, the youth council, if something comes up, there's an opportunity for that. Because it's kind of been an ongoing thing that we wanted to move forward with, and it just hasn't gelled.
And that's something, if we ever were able to sit down with school board and kind of have like a collab little workshop or meeting or something, that's something we can chat with them about and, hey, do a little
Yeah.
outreach through the school.
And then exploring the psilocybin, that we're gonna have to do that anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. Yep, true. Okay,
And then it sounded like there was not gonna, so I know there had been a final item on committee liaisons. Are we, Mary, did you wanna?
Yeah, I've talked to our city manager and decided we're gonna bring that back to the city council versus doing it right here. But keep it in your mind. It's something that you need to look at. If you don't want to do what you're doing already, I mean, because most of us are comfortable with the groups we're with, but if you want to change that, it'll be an option and we'll put it out there at the next city.
okay, we'll get,
Could you send the schedule for all of them in like a summary email? just so we can-
yes.
And
Cause that's my biggest challenge.
would it be helpful to send our availability to you? Or?
No, I think if they know when they are.
Then you can
discuss.
see it, you can go, I can do that one. or-
But the initial
Right.
plan is to keep what we're doing.
Pretty much at this point, unless you're uncomfortable with that, then we can make a change.
I just need to switch with somebody because I can't do DEC anymore because of the time for this.
When there's easy.
That's Monday mornings. 10 a.m. like every Monday, every meeting. coming up. Yeah, I have meetings every morning, every Monday. And, like, that's my common meeting time is 10 a.m.
There's still once a month. So,
Yeah. I just can't.
All right,
I
well,
can't change it.
we'll put that on the agenda. I'll send you out the schedule and who is the current liaison, and then you can see, if you want to change it up. I know Heidi probably wants to pick one up. And then
Is anybody with two? There's two.
two.
Infrastructure and traffic and public safety.
Mhm.
Infrastructure.
That's like once a
Right,
once a
yeah.
quarter.
Once a
The
quarter.
Inherited Justin's infrastructure committee.
And you don't have one yet.
All right, so we'll put that on the agenda for next meeting and I'll consolidate these and any other thoughts from Alex?
You know,
can only do
Monday, but if there's no input, I'll just put it together, and we'll talk to you next meeting, and then just have to take
We're
action.
Off and running, yeah. Do you guys do you want to go around the room and you have any final comments or ready to just wrap it up?
Yes. Wonderful ability to put us all in one room and keep us on track. Appreciate you and we obviously can see the experience that you have because you used it today. So thank you for that. And it's been good.
Yes.
And we want to thank staff.
All right.
And thanks for
Taking time out of
lunch.
Your day and having them
You're
all
welcome.
here. You know, that was a good thing to get them all in the room at the same time.
It was helpful. And I know we didn't ask Michelle any difficult library questions. So Paul, you'll have to do that at the next
Look
board
at any
meeting.
library question. So just out of curiosity, when staff comes in on days like this, they get like compensated with the next day on?
Yes, they're all salary. So they'll just switch a day, except for tomorrow. But so she'll get some comp time and they'll switch some out. Yeah.
I want to thank all of you for accommodating me. Because I can't do anything on Saturdays since I have to work every Saturday. I just want to thank you all for accommodating me so that I could be here.
It was you, huh?
I didn't even know it was an option.
Hold on now.
Thanks anyway.
I thought it was Melanie taking away the football. It was Jerry.
Ah, gotcha. Duly noted. Okay.
All right, we're good. Adjourned.
Awesome, yeah.
Well, I guess
Okay.
good luck to your Chiefs. Hope he doesn't
All
get.
right.
Yeah, good luck to my Chiefs.
I'm probably more of a Bears fan.